Alright, welcome in everyone. This is the project that I wanted to do and I wanted to make. And I had you guys leave some feedback in the comments. I had you all vote which Pokemon that you would prefer. And so now I'm about to make the longest video of all time, breaking down all 251 Pokemon. If you are unaware of what I've been doing, basically, I had a 6-round scenario in which, like, for example, Bulbasaur competed against 6 different Pokemon, or possibly had a bye week. But basically, I had 100 matchups in each of those 6 rounds, and so 51 Pokemon had a bye. But this video is going to break down the results. So this is just a results-based video, and I hope you guys enjoy. It will be a long video. So the first thing I want to tell you is that we will have thumbnails. So if your favorite Pokemon is Bulbasaur, well, that will be easy to find because I'm going to go in Pokedex order. So Bulbasaur is first, and Electabuzz is straight in the middle at 125, and Celebi would be last. So that's kind of how the Pokedex works. And so I'm going to go, I'm going to break down each and every one of these Pokemon, okay? So I'm definitely not expecting anyone to watch the whole video. That would be just madness. But if, for example, maybe Feraligatr or Parasect, whatever, I'll have it in thumbnails. They'll be in Pokedex order. So you may have to do a little searching if you're not totally sure where they fall in the Pokedex, but it will be there for you. Okay? So that's the first thing you need to know. Please, please, please look for those thumbnails. But if you want to watch the whole video, especially on like 0.25 speed, hey, I'd love you guys. You're going to see colors a lot in this video, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a sprite of the Pokemon up along with its matchups. So I'm not just talking into a blank screen. That would be like silly. This first part will be a little bit of talking to a blank screen. However, I think that I'm going to do a heck of a job editing and try my best to kind of explain as we go through. But basically the 4 colors are blue. So a blue is a draw, and basically that means through voting or whatever, they got the same amount of votes. So for example, 1-1 or 2-2. There is no 0-0 matchup because well, if a Pokemon had a bye, I suppose, but a bye is different. A bye is in yellow. That was just a Pokemon that did not reach, it didn't play that week, basically. 51 Pokemon each week had a bye, which is like 1 in 5 chance. So yellow and blue, but they're both worth 1 point. That's kind of the important thing to know. A win is worth 2 points, and a loss is worth 0 points. And I went through and I looked at vote differential as well. So as we go through, I'm going to rank these Pokemon into the tiers. And now let's talk about the tiers real quick. So basically, we have the S tier, A+, A minus. Then we have all the Bs, and we only have 2 Cs, and then it goes D, E, F, and then WTF. I've been enjoying the WTF tier. Think of these as just numbers, though. Essentially, WTF means 0 points. The F tier is 1 point. The E tier is 2 points, and so on. There is going to be no subjective opinion of mine in this video. I am simply providing the results that you guys provided through voting and stuff. So it's that simple. This is not a, what is it, my opinion, what is my favorite Pokemon? No, none of that matters. And then up at the top, S would be 12 points, which is the hardest to get. You basically have to win all 6 matches. And that's hard to do because of bye weeks. So, but anyways, I'm going to try to go through, each of these Pokemon, but there's no way I can do all 251 in one stretch. That would just be absolutely impossible. But I'm probably going to try to do sets of 9 or 18 or something like that. I also don't want to be monotone. That would be really destructive here, and I don't know where this video will go, but I'm passionate about this, and so that's all I really care about. And so we'll go ahead and break it down, but like I said, look out for thumbnails, the 4 colors. If I say that a Pokemon has like a full dish or something like that, that means they had a draw, a win, a tie, and a loss, which is incredible. And then, you know, I might take a minute on each Pokemon. I might take, you know, 90 seconds on more popular picks. Maybe I only take 10 seconds on Pokemon that aren't interesting. But I feel like every Pokemon gets its due in this video, and that is a goal of mine. So let's go ahead, and without further ado, let's get started. First up, we had Bulbasaur. Okay, Bulbasaur is, you know, Bulbasaur is one of our favorites, but basically, let me put the schedule up there, and it grabbed a win, 2 losses. The losses were to Donphan and Houndoom, which are tough losses to endure because those are great Pokemon. Beat Horsea, which is not bad. I mean, I think that's a winnable match no matter what. And then it had 3 buys. So in total, it has 5 points. The win against Horsea will give it 2. And the 3 buys are 1 each. And then the 2 losses are worth 0. And Bulbasaur's vote differential was 0. It basically had 2 votes for it and 2 votes against it. So Bulbasaur ends up with 5 points, which according to our scale here is going to be a C+ Pokemon. So that's how it's going to be. It doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter how I vote it. It's just going to matter, you know, what the results are. Part of my votes matter here, but, you know, part of them do not. Moving on to Ivysaur. Let's throw up Ivysaur's schedule real quick. Ivysaur had 4 victories. It beat Snubbull, Cloyster, Krabby, and Totodile. The Totodile one was especially a good win because Totodile is, well, you know, the son of some people. And Totodile's a very popular one. It did lose to Delibird, however, in the last round, and it had a bye in round 4. So Ivysaur finishes with 9 points, and it has a vote differential of 4, positive 4, I should say. And because of that, it's going to end up in the 12, 11, 10, 9. It's going to end up in A- because it has 9 points. So you see where I'm going here now. It has a +4. If somebody has a +5 vote differential, what I'll do is I will put it above Ivysaur. And if it's worse, then it will go below it. So hopefully that all makes sense so far. All right, moving on. Got Venusaur. Venusaur picked up 3 wins. It beat Charmander in round 1, beat Rhydon and Lugia. Those are all good wins. However, it was on a bye in round 4, so that will only be worth 1 point. And then it tied Dragonite in round 3, which would also be worth a point, but then it lost to Dugong in round 2. So Venusaur has one of every single possibility: a win, loss, a bye, and a draw. Comes out to 8 points. It has the 3 victories for 6. The tie is 1, and the bye week is 1. The loss is 0, of course. Its vote differential is 1 point, and 8 points will land you in B+. And Ivysaur ends up being the best of the original line of evolution. So, hey, good job, Ivysaur. Next up is Charmander. We just reviewed Charmander took a loss to Venusaur in round 1. It also lost to Quagsire in round 5. But it did defeat Kabuto and Sentret, so that may be a result of getting a little bit easier opponents, but it had a bye as well. So basically, Charmander's pretty clean. 2 wins, 2 losses, 2 byes, which gives us 6 points. And no vote differential, basically. So got 2 votes received, 2 against it. And so Charmander will end up in the B- tier, which is where all the folks with 6 points go. And as I'm going, I'm kind of just adding the points in there. Next up is Charmeleon. Charmeleon, let's throw his schedule up, is the best so far. I'm willing to say that Charmeleon succeeded through a very weak schedule. This was completely random. It's not like this was a true round robin. That would have been the worst hell of all time. A 250 round robin. Oh my gosh. But basically, if you're looking at this here, the only Pokemon that could maybe make an argument to be Charmeleon is Crocodile. And, you know, round 1, but I'm no real fan of Crocodile. It did have a bye week in round 5, so it is going to end up with 11 points instead of 12, and its vote differential is 5. But Charmeleon is going to be an A+ Pokemon up there with 11 points. Good job for these middle evolutions so far. They're killing it. Charizard. Charizard was close to having the same success, and arguably with a much tougher schedule. It beat Sudowoodo, Cyndaquil, Growlithe, and Noctowl. Those 4 together are easily better than Ditto, Voltorb, Ledian, and Slugma in the last round. So, Charizard gets 4 victories, and then it has a tie and a bye. So it ends up with 10 points and a vote differential of 5, plus 5 I should say. And so Charizard is going to end up in the A tier with 10 points. So, as we review real fast, we got the first couple families in here. Charmeleon is the best so far, but the fires look like they are kind of just above the grass versions of themselves, basically. But I have a feeling that won't last long. But let's jump back into it real quick. Squirtle's next. Squirtle had some interesting opponents. It played both Ekans and Arbok, which is pretty cool in my opinion, that it got to see 2 different of the same evolution line. It also fought Tentacool, got wins in all 3 of those, and then it lost to Poliwag round 1, and it had 2 draws. So it finishes with 8 points. I should note that Venusaur also had 8 points, but it had a little bit different path than Squirtle did, so it doesn't always really matter how you get to a certain spot. But Squirtle did have a better vote differential. It finished with +2 vote differential versus Venusaur's 1. So Squirtle is going to be a B+ Pokemon, but it will be above Venusaur. And you can tell that this is completely subjective, because no way in heck am I ever putting Squirtle above Venusaur in our rankings. But this is not exactly my opinion on everything. Wartortle's up next. This one made me a little sad. Wartortle is a favorite of mine, and but it just really had 2 buys to start. That makes life hard. And then it 2 times it was voted against. When I selected it, basically the opposition went for Bayleaf and Ghastly, so it had 2 draws. And then it did pick up 2 wins against Ampharos and Remoraid, so a little bit on the tougher side for a schedule. Finishes with 8 points, just like Squirtle. Squirtle kind of had Squirtle seemed to have a much easier schedule than Wartortle did, but they all got to the same place, and Wartortle also finishes with 2 vote differential. So really, Squirtle and Wartortle are right next to each other. I guess I'll put Wartortle ahead, because if I'm the ultimate tiebreaker, then sure. But you could also make the argument like Wartortle didn't have a loss, but I'm not going to try to be too picky. The vote differential is enough work as it is. And by the way, if I make any error, please catch me. I'm trying my best to double and triple check, and so you guys just let me know. I would appreciate it. Blastoise is up next. Let's throw up Blastoise's schedule. Goodness, that's a good one. That's 6 wins. That's as good as you can do, and it also even picked up an extra vote against the Sea King, so it finishes with a +7. It's a very good. Now, technically, if you finish with 12 points, though, the lowest vote differential you can have is +6. But Blastoise is a S Pokemon, our first one, with 12 points there. So, very well done, Blastoise. Defeated Sea King, Noctowl, Caterpie, Shuckle, Cyndaquil, Teddiursa. I think Noctowl, Caterpie, Shuckle are kind of light work. And, and Sea King, too. But maybe Cyndaquil and Teddiursa could make an argument, but it was not much argument. So Blastoise is our first Pokemon in the S tier. Speaking of first, we have Caterpie now. And Caterpie, let's throw up Caterpie's schedule. Oh, it is exactly the opposite of Blastoise, which it played, by the way. It has 6 losses. Lost to Steelix, Omastar, Blastoise, Bellsprout, Sandslash, and Dragonair. Finishes with a -7 vote differential. That may be our worst Pokemon, but we will just have to see. We'll have to continue to to move down, but basically I do apologize that you're not going to be able to see all these tiers at the same time. So Blastoise and Caterpie are not going to be on the same page, but I will just kind of fluctuate here, and yeah, we'll see how it rolls. Metapod's up next. Well, let's throw up Metapod's schedule. Oh, it didn't get 0 because it had 2 buys. What a blessing. The buys really saved it. Losses to Mareep, Meowth, Phanpy, and Smeargle, however. So, when it did have to compete, it lost. But because of the 2 bye weeks, it ends up as an E-tier Pokemon. And I'll go ahead and say that that could be a reason why you may think this is a flawed business because of the buys and all that. But I had to do something. I couldn't have 125 matches every week. 100 was probably way too much anyway. But Metapod finishes in the E tier, has a -4 vote differential. I'm sure there will be other Pokemon that maybe are a little bit better that finish with 2 points. Butterfree, however, I think Butterfree did pretty okay. It finishes with 7 points. It's going to be a B tier Pokemon, if I can type right. Excuse me. I can quickly review its schedule. It went against Togepi, Clefable, and Psyduck and picked up wins. Lost to Murkrow and Pineco and had a bye week. I think that's pretty good. I think that's a pretty good showing for Butterfree. It's going to be kind of in the middle of the pack here, and so I don't think it will finish top 100, but it certainly won't finish bottom 100 either. So I really think it's going to fall between like 101 and 150. So that's a good showing for Butterfree. So if you're a big Butterfree fan out there, big congrats. Next up is Weedle. Let's throw the Weedle schedule up. Another bad one. It did have a bye week though, so that saved it, but losses to Mantine, Magcargo, Kabutops, Omastar, and Wigglytuff. Yeah, fought both the fossils there. Very nice. -5 vote differential. There isn't much to look at here. Weedle is an F Pokemon. It's quite simple. It would be what the F if it didn't have a bye week. So it lucked out. Kakuna. Okay, more garbage. Kakuna is another Pokemon that lucked out by getting 2 bye weeks. Took losses to Haunter, Raichu, Stantler, Ladybug. I mean, Ladybug would be its only chance to do something, but I don't think so. You got to go off cute factor for Ladybug. But Kakuna finishes in the E tier, right next to Metapod. They have the same vote differential. I suppose I would take Kakuna over Metapod personally, because of Poison Sting would actually do something status-wise. So both of these have 2 points and -4. Very boring, but they're better than their Caterpillar. Pokemon, the lowerlings or whatever. And then we'll do Beedrill, okay? Beedrill did well. I have a friend who's a big Beedrill fan. It picked up 3 wins, beat Shelter, Wigglytuff, and Rattata. Good wins. Wigglytuff especially, I think, is a good win in there. It took a draw against Golem, and it lost to Espeon. Espeon is a great Pokemon for sure. Vote differential of 4 with 8 points, and that's going to put it up there with Wartortle and Gang. Let's check Wartortle's. Oh, it has a better vote differential than Wartortle, which would put it first in the B tier. So Beedrill's up there in the B tier. So we'll just review real quick. I mean, we've got the first 15 in the books. I mean, probably makes sense. The grass guys are probably a little bit low now, and the bugs are low here, but I mean, even Beedrill's probably the biggest surprise, I would say, of the first 15 relative to where things are placed, and maybe Venusaur too, being kind of low, but hey, what can you do? That's part of the game. Oh, Pidgey is next. Let's find the bird. Pidgey is going to have a similar problem as Kakuna, in that the only way for it to succeed is through bye weeks. It had 2 of them. Took losses to Piloswine, Omanite, Flaffy, and Fear. Now, admittedly, that's a pretty tough schedule. 3 of those Pokemon are excellent. Omanite is also a very popular Pokemon amongst the people. So Pidgey, unfortunately, is going to take a big E tier. I do like it better than the Cocoons, though. Pidgeotto, same exact story, unfortunately. Let's throw up the schedule. I will make the argument, though, it had a harder schedule. Muck, Totodile, Nidoqueen, and Jolteon. Those are good matchups. 2 buys, though. Gets it 2 points. It's at a -4 as well. I'll put it above Pidgey. But, yeah, the birds and the bugs are not doing good at the moment. But, hey, we'll see. Pidgeot. Pidgeot looks like it's going to grab a win. Grab a win against Tentacool. Any win will do. It did have a bye week, but it did take some major losses to Feraligatr, Hitmonlee, and then also lost to Meowth and Magcargo. So it finishes with 3 points, which is good enough to get it into the D tier, all by its lonesome. So Pidgeot at least has something to stroud about that. Finishes with a -5 vote differential, so that's not good though. That's going to be really poor. Pidgeot's going to finish near the end of the D tier for sure. It's probably cruising to be a bottom 25 Pokemon, not sure. We'll have to see. Rattata. Oof. Let's throw the schedule up. I'm not a Rattata fan in the least, but this didn't help much. Losses to Rhydon and Growlithe and Hitmonlee. Those are great Pokemon. Beedrill even is, you know, I'm no Beedrill fan, but you got to make the argument that Beedrill is a little better than Rattata, and also lost to Togetic. Did have the one bye week though, so it does avoid the Caterpie tier, the WTF tier. We'll put him ahead of Weedle though, so he'll at least be third to last at the least. Let me double check. Yeah, both at -5 vote differential. I'm only going to break a tie if there is a tie with every other factor. So if it's if the vote differential is the same, if the points are the same, if that's all the same, I will break the tie. Raticate, however, did a little bit better than Rattata. It picked up a win against Remoraid, however, it lost to Articuno, Nidoran Male, Skarmory, and Poliwag. Picked up a bye week as well. It's going to be in the same tier as Pidgeot, but it did do a little bit better by having a -4. So it does finish higher than Pidgeot on paper. -4 for Raticate, -5 for Pidgeot. 3 points each. So hopefully you guys are seeing how things are going. You know, definitely drop a comment if you're confused or anything. I can try to break it down the best I can. Now we're getting to some good stuff here. Spearow is next. Kenya. Let's throw up Kenya's schedule. I see a lot of light work here. I think Spearow would eat a Magikarp and an Ekans. Destroys Tangle in real life, I'm sure. You got Igglybuff. Easy schedule for Spearow. He's going to pick up 4 wins. Did take a loss to Sneasel. That was never going to be a victory, and it did take a bye week. So it does collect 9 points. It's going to put it up in the A tier. It has a 3 vote differential. I'm looking at Ivysaur. Ivysaur has 4. So Spearow is going to finish just 1 spot below Ivysaur. However, at the moment, it is 5th out of 21. That's impressive. It is a top 5 at the moment. It won't be top 5 for long after we throw Fearows up there. Okay, listen. I'm a Fearow guy. I enjoy the Fearow. Look at these easy wins. I mean, Dugtrio was going to be the hardest matchup probably. I did not realize that in week 1. But Machamp, Venonat, Staryu, Pidgey are all light work. And then Golduck, you can make an argument if you like Golduck better. That's no problem at all, but I definitely am a much bigger fan of Fearow. Fearow is going to finish with 12 points, the same as Blastoise, and I believe they will both have a +7 vote differential. So let me throw Fearow up there. I'm going to put him after Blastoise. So Fearow is 2nd right now. Spearow falls to 6th. Ekans. We have a guest to join Caterpie. Caterpie, though, had a -7. Let's throw up Ekans. Ekans at least was never voted against in the audience, so it's just going to finish with a -6. So it will be ahead of Caterpie, just on vote differential, taking losses to Mankey, Squirtle, Corsola, Blissey, Spearow, and Snubbull. A tough schedule, I guess. Corsola maybe is the easiest one there, but I'm no big fan of Ekans, so fortunately it was a tough tournament for Ekans. Look, there's got to be low fruit in every matchup. Arbok. Let's throw up Arbok's matchup, or Arbok's schedule. It did pick up a win, though. It got a win over Sunkern. Yeah, it's going to be hard. That was going to be hard to pick Sunkern in that spot. I think that, you know, I'm no big Arbok fan, but took a loss to Moltres, Drowsy, Pinsir. Those are easy losses. Squirtle as well as an easy loss. And then Yanma. I don't know. I think Yanma's kind of cool. It's in Arceus Legends. I mean, I guess Arbok might be too. But Arbok's going to finish with 2 points, -5 vote differential. Let me check check Pidgey real quick. Pidgey's -4. What about the Cocoons? They're -4 as well. Okay, so it looks like Arbok is going to be at the end of the E tier because it finished with a -5 vote differential. At least to Metapod's credit, didn't get voted against. Let me check Pidgey and Pidgeotto one more time. Yeah, they're both -4. So these first four here, Pidgeotto, Pidgey, Kakuna, Metapod, all -4 vote differential. Arbok -5. That's why it's at the end. So Arbok is the bottom 5 at the moment, but things definitely can change. We'll just have to see. Probably do a few more, then see where we're at. Pikachu. Pikachu's an interesting one because I don't really care about Pikachu, but it's hard. If you look at the schedule here, some of these Pokemon I hate even more than Pikachu, and I may vote Pikachu kind of out of respect. So I went ahead, Wobbuffet, Azumarill, and Horsea, Pikachu defeated, and it lost to Swinub, Hitmonlee, and Skarmory. Pikachu actually has a pretty balanced spreadsheet here. 3 wins, 3 losses, 3 votes for, 3 votes against. Really no drama for your mama on this one. Pikachu has 6 points, 0 vote differential. Let me check Charmander's real quick to see what Charmander landed. Charmander was also 0, so I'm going to give Charmander the nod over Pikachu, but that's not a bad showing for Pikachu. Raichu is up next. Let's look at Raichu's schedule. This is hilarious, guys. Raichu did exactly the same as Pikachu. 3 wins against Cleffa, Cocoon, Octillery. 3 losses. Smoochum, Ursaring, Magnemite. 3 votes for, 3 votes against. Awesome. I love it. Raichu is going to be in the exact same place as Pikachu. I'll put them between Charmander and Pikachu. So all 3 of these are at 6 points. They had no vote differential, though, so the votes were the same. Sandshrew up next, and Sandshrew is, as we look at the schedule, it also has 3 wins and 3 losses. However, 2 of the losses were bad, so it did take a little bit of a vote differential trouble there. It beat Jumpluff, Mewtwo, and Krabby, but it fell to Ghastly, Bayleaf, and Porygon. So Sandshrew finishes with 6. It's going to be in that B tier, but it's going to be at the end of the B tier, and that's because Charmander, Raichu, Pikachu all had better vote differential. Sandslash. It's a good one here. Sandslash had 5 victories. Beat Chansey, Quillfish, Jumpluff, Caterpie, Clefairy. I think that's got an easy schedule. Quillfish, baby's the toughest one. Lost to Porygon 2, though. That's good. That's a good matchup there. So 10 points, 5 wins, 1 loss. Had a +5 vote differential, so as I'm looking, I need to go back and look at Charizard's. Give me a second. Charizard had a 5 as well, so I'm going to actually put Sandslash ahead of Charizard, if I can make it happen. So Sandslash currently in 4th. Great work for Sandslash. And let's do a few more, and then I think I need to call it. Nidoran female. Throw the schedule up for me. We've got Tyrogue, Slowpoke, and Magikarp as wins. Tell me, is that easy or what, those 3 matchups? Oh my gosh. Took 3 losses to Pokemon that are actually pretty good. Mischievous, Fortress, and Magnemite. Finishes with a -1, so it's going to be above Sandshrew, but it will not be above Pikachu in the gang. So we'll put Nidoran female right there. Looks like it's the midpoint at the moment. Not bad. Nidorina did much worse. I won't say much worse, but 4 points. Had a win, 2 buys. That gave it its 4. Lost to Houndoom, Elekid, Nidoqueen. Those are hard matchups. Are you kidding me? Nidoqueen, Elekid, and Houndoom? That's rough. Those are like, for me, those are like all top 25 Pokemon. Did beat Clefairy, though, so give it a little credit. Finishes with 4 points, and it looks like it's going to be at its lonesome right now in the C tier. It's going to be by itself in the C tier, which, unfortunately, a lot of times you think C tier is good, but it's one of the bottom tiers here, unfortunately. So, but it's still, there's 11 Pokemon below it out of, 30, 31. So, I mean, it's going to be like in the, around the 2/3 mark. Nidoqueen, one of my favorites, but it did not have a good showing. Let's throw up the schedule. Just lost to Magmar, had a bye, and then a tie against Heracross, which is brutal. But it did pick up 8 points still. Beat Nidorina, Paras, and Pidgeotto. One of the matchups where the offspring fought each other, so that's pretty cool. So Nidorino finishes with 8 points. It has a +3. Got to check on the. I think Wartortle had 4, right? What did Venusaur have? Venusaur had +1, so Nidoqueen's going to fall between Squirtle and Venusaur. Okay, next up we have Nidoran Male. Let's throw up the schedule real quick. Looks like Nidoran Male grabbed 4 wins. Had a pretty favorable schedule, to be honest with you. Defeated Ditto, Unknown, Raticate, and Electrode. Did lose to Yanma, and it had a bye in round 6, but all of that is good enough to earn it 9 points, and it's going to end up in the A- tier. Let me check on Spearow real fast, and I apologize, I'm working with a cold now, but that's just how it's going to have to be. It's going to fit between Ivysaur and Spearow. So Ivysaur had a +4 differential. Spearow has 3. I'm probably going to put Spearow above Nidoran Male, though, for a tiebreaker or whatnot. So a good match for Nidoran Male there. I apologize, I have to keep going down my spreadsheet. Now, Nidorino. Let's throw up Nidorino schedule. Not a good one, and unfortunately had a rough day. Only grabbed 1 bye. Had some great opponents, though, compared to Nidoran Male. We had Raikou, Mew, Omastar, Jumpluff, and Haunter, so it's going to end up in that F tier, unfortunately. And I think it's going to be worse than probably Caterpie. Let me check that out real quick. No, looks like it might be a little bit better. It has a -6. Yeah, has a -6. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at Weedle. I need to look at Weedle, not Caterpie. Yeah, it's worse than Weedle. That stinks. Sorry, Nidorino. Man, Nidorino 3rd to last. That's crazy. Nidoking. Let's see. Throw up Nidoking's schedule here. Okay, Nidoking did a little bit better. Had 4 wins. Beat Smoochum, Mewtwo, Slowbro, Miltank. Lost to Tyranitar. That one's a close one in round 6, and had a bye as well. So it, like Nidoran Male, finishes with 9 points, and they both have 3 differentials. So pretty much we'll put Nidoking right there after Ivysaur. So good win for Nidoking. Clefairy, unfortunately, we take a look at Clefairy's schedule. Rough times, 5 losses. Had a bye week 1, but it's going to be right there with Weedle, but it is still ahead of Nidorino. Moving on to Clefable. One thing I want to note, I'm just going to throw the Pokemon in the tier that they belong, and then I'll organize it when it's all finished by vote differential, because I am simply not going to be able to scroll up and down my Excel spreadsheet with any kind of accuracy, and it's going to be costly too, so we'll get it figured out. Clefable, let's throw the schedule up real quick. Defeated Remoraid and had a bye week. Took 4 losses, unfortunately. Hoot Hoot, Butterfree, Bayleaf, and Natu. Not the strongest opponents, but Clefable still takes the L, or takes 3 points at least, so let's throw Clefable up in the D tier. Vulpix is next. Let's throw up Vulpix. Vulpix did pretty good, actually, for a baby, for a first stage evolution. We got Goldeen, Epom, Igglybuff, and Starmie victories. Lost to Politoed and Dugong. Those are just strong water types that I really enjoy. Vulpix is going to finish with 8 points. Let's go ahead and throw it up there in the B tier. Ninetales is next. Throw up Ninetales schedule for me. Okay, so we've got a good schedule here. No losses. Undefeated. Had a bye week round 6. Tied Magmar in round 2, but then defeated Hitmonlee, Ponyta, Tyrogue, and Sentret. Pretty easy schedule. I mean, Hitmonlee and Magmar are very tough, but week 3 through 5, it had a really good schedule there. So Ninetales going to finish with 10 points. Is going to finish in the A tier. This fox is on fire. Jigglypuff, not a great schedule. Well, not a great result. It had a really tough schedule, actually. Chinchou, Pupitar, Totodile, Machamp, Ponyta. Those arguably are all lightning better than Jigglypuff. Jigglypuff did have a bye on round 1, though, to at least avoid the WTF tier, so it finishes with 1 point. Wigglytuff, 2 bye weeks, 2 losses, and 2 wins. So a little bit of parity there. Typically 2 wins, 2 losses, 2 byes. That's going to be a recipe for 6 points. So let's go ahead and throw Wigglytuff up in the B- tier. Perfect. Zubat. Zubat had 2 byes and did not do well when it did compete. It went against Cyndaquil, Geodude, Houndour, and Girafarig. And so it's going to finish with 2 points. Let's throw it up there in the E tier. But hey, it's still ahead of 7 Pokemon right now out of 41. Alrighty, next up is Golbat. Let's take a look at that schedule. Not a great one. A couple bye weeks. They took losses to Tauros, Marowak, Abra, and Caesar. Admittedly, those are pretty tough matchups. But it's going to finish with 2 points, and that's going to put it in the E tier. We, of course, will organize further down the road. Oddish. Let's throw up Oddish. Oddish actually had a couple victories. It beat Sunkern and it beat Sentret, so good for Oddish. Those are a couple quality wins. I think Oddish can become greatness through Vileplume and Blossom, and I think that's what helped it a lot. Did take losses to Seal, Poliwrath, Lantern, and Mischievous, though. So it does finish with 4 points, which is going to be good enough for the C tier. And Oddish is going to finish ahead of at least 15 or so Pokemon so far, which is pretty nice. Gloom's up next. Go ahead and throw up Gloom's schedule. We've got Skiploom as a victory week 1, and then a lot of disappointment after that. It did have a bye week in round 3, but those last 3 matchups, especially Alakazam, Dragonite, and Piloswine, that's killer. Those are hard matchups. It's hard to get a win, and so it's going to have 3 points total. So let's throw it up in the E tier. It'll be interesting to see which of these tiers will first have to be expanded. It looks like 12 and 11 is going to be hard to come by, whereas 3 is a very common number at the moment. So let's keep on moving though. We've got Vileplume next. Let's take a look here real quick. Vileplume, okay. Vileplume's got a interesting schedule. It's got 2 losses early on to Delibird and Tyranitar, but then it didn't lose again. Yet it still only finished with 5 points, which is going to be a C+ Pokemon. But I will say that it took a tie against Gyarados and a tie against Sneasel. Those are pretty good quality Pokemon right there. It did beat Grimer straight up. But Oddish, who actually had 4 losses, only finishes 1 point behind Vileplume. But Vileplume is going to be up there with Bulbasaur. Finally, Bulbasaur has some company in the C+ tier. Next up, we have Paras. Paras, well, I think Paras is kind of cool. Paras basically had a very boring 3 buys, and then it played 3 very good Pokemon, Chikorita, Nidoqueen, and Magmar. Not much to be said here. I guess you could make an argument that it could have maybe beaten Chikorita, but anyways, it's going to finish with 3 points. We'll throw it up there in the D tier. Next up is going to be... let me just make sure I'm doing... I think I put Gloom in the wrong spot. There we go. Gloom needs to be up there with Paras. Okay, Parasect is next. Parasect had a win week 1. Couple buys in there, but then took 3 losses. One of them really quality to Scyther. Scyther's a great Pokemon. Farfetch'd and Krabby, though, I think just kind of barely got the edge. But Parasect does finish with 4. It's going to finish up there in the C tier with Oddish and Nidorina. Venonat is going to have a very similar problem as Paras. 3 buys and then 3 opponents that are very good. I guess the Skiploom, that's kind of a coin flip almost, but it went ahead. It took 3 losses to Fortress, Fearow, and Skiploom, and then 3 buys. So Venonat finishes with 3 points in the D tier. Let me click right though. Excuse me. Venomoth did a little better, not much. It had a win against Octillery straight up, so that was a quality win. And it tied Gyarados. And then it had a bye week round 6, but it lost to Ghastly, Steelix, and Lantern. So it's going to finish with 4 points. And be a C tier Pokemon. Diglett. Diglett's next. Diglett has the perfection of, or the perfect symmetry here. It has the yellow, green, green, red, red, yellow. So it's going to be 6 points and no vote differential. That's a very common thing, by the way. There's going to be a ton of Pokemon probably that are right in that B- tier when it's all said and done. So like I said, Diglett, 2 wins, 2 losses, 2 buys, 6 points. Dugtrio. Dugtrio had a rough tournament. Terrible tournament. Face Fearow week 1, Chinchou week 4, Houndoom week 5, Rapidash week 6. While Dugtrio could beat all those Pokemon one-on-one, I typically don't enjoy Dugtrio as much. It did beat Bayleaf and Ariados though for 4 points, but a rather poor tournament for Dugtrio, no question about it. It's going to be a C tier Pokemon. Meowth. Meowth had a great tournament. Let's throw the schedule up real quick. Beat Ledian, Metapod, Pidgeot, Lugia. I mean, Metapod is soft. But you can, Lugia is a quality win. Pidgeot, Ledian, I think those are good wins. But Metapod's just the cakewalk. It tied Coughing in week 6. And it lost to Skarmory week 1, but it's good enough for 9 points. Meowth is a, check this out, an A- Pokemon. Very cool. Persian's up next. Persian has a little bit of all of its color in its plate. Tied against Totodile week 2. Lost to Heracross week 5. Picked up 3 wins there, kind of in the middle, and it did have a bye week round 1. So all in all, it's going to finish with 8 points. So congratulations to Persian, going to be a B+ Pokemon below Meowth, which is an A- Pokemon. So it's just kind of crazy. Sometimes schedule is everything, so you can't discount that. Next up is Psyduck. We have the 2 green, 2 red, 2 yellow once again. 2 wins, 2 defeats, and 2 ties. It beat Quilava and Machamp, lost to Furt and Butterfree. 6 points for Psyduck. It's going to be up there in the B- tier. That's going to be, I think that's going to end up being a very popular tier, the B- tier. Golduck is next. Golduck did not have quite as good of a tournament. Had a couple buys. Did defeat Poliwhirl, but it lost to Xatu, Fearow, and Hitmontop. Xatu and Fearow especially are really tough matchups. So it was only going to earn 4 points. We're going to put Golduck in the C tier. Mankey. Mankey had a little nice tournament here. Had a bye week, round 4. Lost to Flareon. But then it took care of business against Ekans, Tentacool, Horsea, and Growlithe. Admittedly, that's probably a little bit of a weaker schedule. The Growlithe victory is very good, though. And Mankey's going to finish with 9 points up in the A- tier. Check these little guys. Look at this. A- has Spearow, Nidoran Male, Meowth, and Mankey so far, along with Nidoking and Ivysaur. That's crazy. Next up is Primeape. Primeape had an amazing tournament. Let's put up the schedule here. Aerodactyl, it tied in round 3. Otherwise, it's a clean sheet. Defeated Kangaskhan, Pinsir, Exeggutor, Shelter, Flaffy. I think the Kangaskhan and Pinsir victories especially are quality. Flaffy's a good win as well, and so is Exeggutor. Exeggutor is a very popular Pokemon, but it finishes with 11 points. Primeape is going to be our second Pokemon in the A+ tier. Primeape currently ranks number 4 at the worst out of 57. Pretty impressive. Let's head up the Growlithe family now. Throwing up Growlithe's schedule. Started off very strong. 6 points after 3 rounds. That's as well as you can do. Defeated Snorlax, Rattata, and Marill. Had a bye week, and then the wheels kind of came off a little bit. Lost to Charizard, and it lost to Mankey. So Growlithe finishes with 7 points. Still not a terrible tournament. It's going to be in the B tier with Butterfree. Next up, we got Arcanine. Arcanine started slow with 2 buys. It was really unfortunate, but it did collect 4 wins against really, I wouldn't call these quality opponents in my opinion. I don't think many people are going to think that Arcanine is less popular than Electrode, Tentacruel, Graveler, or Corsola, unless you're like hardcore in the corner of those Pokemon. So Arcanine finishes with 10 points, and it's going to be good enough for the A tier. So let's slide Arcanine up there. The A tier is turning into the Fire tier, basically, plus Sandslash. Hold on, sorry. Having trouble with my mouse here. Okay, moving right along to Poliwag. If we look at Poliwag's schedule, kind of a weird one. 3 bye weeks there in the middle. It did grab a win on the corners. Round 1 and round 6, it beat Squirtle and Raticate. Did lose to Cubone. But it's going to finish with 7 points. Not too bad. It's going to be in the B tier right there with Growlithe and Butterfree. Poliwhirl did not do as well. Took a bad loss to Dratini. Lugia's a tough matchup. Golduck, it's kind of a coin flip, I think, depending on the day. 2 buys. It did beat Ledian, though. It's going to finish with 4 points total. And 4 points is going to earn Poliwhirl a trip to the C tier. Poliwrath. Poliwrath is an interesting one. It was only in action 2 times out of 6. Poliwrath perhaps had the most bye weeks. I'll have to fact check that, but not many Pokemon had 4 byes. There may be a couple others. But it gets 4 points from those byes, and then it beat Oddish, so it finishes with 6, which would be good enough for B-. So Poliwrath only had 2 total votes cast for it, or in its matchups, and it still finishes in the B- tier. Very cool. Abra's up next. Abra's an interesting one. We have 2 losses to start against Magby and Flaffy, but it did defeat Seaking and Golbat back-to-back rounds, and it tied Mareep, and then it had a bye week, so it as well finishes with 6 points. And yes, I can already tell that B- is going to be running away. B- is going to be the most popular tier, and it makes sense because 6 is in the middle of 12 and 0. So, but yeah, the tier list is starting to come together nice now. Kadabra. Well, Kadabra's got an interesting slate here. Loss, win, loss, win, loss, win. Defeated Hitmonchan, Epom, and Pichu, and took the L to Magneton, Tyranitar, and Umbreon. It did take a couple extra votes against it in the Tyranitar and Umbreon matchup, so essentially it's gonna, in the end, it's gonna have a worse vote differential. It's gonna end up in the B- tier, but we'll organize there a little bit later. But it has 6 points to its name. Alakazam did very well this tournament. Let's throw it up here. We got Executor, Victory, beat Quillfish, Gloom, and Wobbuffet, and it took 2 byes. So had it not been on a bye, it probably could have finished with 12. I have a friend out there who very much loves Alakazam, so Mephisto, that one's for you. A tier. I'll get it more organized here in a second. But 10 points for Alakazam and the A tier. Machop is next. Machop did poorly. 5 straight losses to start and a bye week. Machop is an F Pokemon. Machop, in my opinion, really nothing that special about it. It's what Machop leads to that is where the action is. Machoke had the 2-2-2, 2 wins, 2 losses, 2 byes scenario. It was defeated by Sudowoodo and Magneton. Those are tough matchups. Those are good Pokemon. It did beat Snubbull and Crocodile, however, and it took 2 bye weeks. It's going to be good enough for 6 points and the B tier. This B tier is going to be insanely big. Next up is Machamp. Machamp had a wonderful schedule. A wonderful tournament, I should say. Defeated Politoed, Elekid, Entei, and Jigglypuff. I would say Jigglypuff is a kind of a push around, and Entei is kind of a softer match too. But they also had 2 bye weeks. But Machamp is going to end up here with Alakazam with 10 points in the A tier. So we're seeing how things are starting to shape up. This B- tier is going to be 4 rows deep probably. Next up is Bellsprout. Not a terrible performance. I mean, it did get lucky and played Caterpie. Had 2 byes. Lost to Horsey. That's probably a very rough loss. It was never going to beat Skarmory or Articuno in a million years. Finishes with 4 points, and it's going to be a C Pokemon. Next up is Weepingbell. Weepingbell is going to be weeping after this. Not a very good performance. Lost in every matchup in which it participated in, but it did have 3 bye weeks to save it, to make it good enough for a D tier appearance. Victreebel. Victreebel also had 4 bye weeks like Poliwrath, and it also split its 2 matchups. It defeated Slugma, and it lost to Coughing. Only 2 total votes were cast in the Victreebel matchups. It just wasn't very involved, and it was just kind of luck of the draw, unfortunately. Victreebel will be a B- Pokemon in the with 6 points, and this was why I had to think of a system where Pokemon would not be punished for having a bye and not being able to compete. So, Victreebel, B-. Tentacool, not a good schedule. Lost to Lapras, which is Lapras, Mankey, and Magneton are amazing. Squirtle's very popular. Pidgeot, I think Pidgeot from the looks perspective is much better. But Tentacool's only going to finish with 1 point total in the F tier. It's an F tier Pokemon. Tentacruel is next, and Tentacruel didn't really have much better luck. In fact, it was worse than Tentacool, because it's going to take an extra vote against it, against Hypno. Lost to Crobat, Houndour, Hypno, Arcanine, and Kingdra. Tentacool finishes with 1 point. It's also an F tier Pokemon, and worse than Tentacool. Geodude's up next. Geodude had some good success early on. Defeated Machamp, Zubat, and Hoppip. I think that's more leaning towards the fact that it had a good schedule. Had 2 bye weeks as well. Its only loss was to Ampharos with 8 points for Geodude. Geodude's going to end up in the B+ tier. Very good showing for Geodude. Next up is Graveler. Not quite as good this tournament, but just had harder matchups. Arcanine, Raikou, and Kingdra. That's the gauntlet right there. But it did beat Wooper and took 2 byes. It's going to get 4 points overall, and Graveler is going to be good for the C tier. Next up, we got Golem. Golem has 3 victories to his name: Spinarak, Cyndaquil, and Slowking. Good wins. Tied Beedrill round 2, and a loss to Quillfish and Politoed. All in all, I don't think that's a terrible tournament for Golem. It's going to end up with 7 points, and it's going to be in the B tier. I think that if you really think if you get 7 or above, you're going to be, it's so likely you're in the top 100 Pokemon, basically. Because this B- tier here is going to absolutely, the B- tier is going to plug this middle section so bad. So if you finish with 7 or higher, you're top 100 Pokemon. So good win for Golem there. Next up, we got Ponyta. This horse is on fire. It unfortunately did not have as good of a tournament as Golem. We got 2 wins, beat Corsola and Jigglypuff. Win when you need to. But look at these losses. Weezing, Ninetales, Persian. That breaks my heart. Those are good Pokemon, and Ponyta just didn't have a good draw. So Ponyta finishes with 5 points. It's going to be a C+ Pokemon, but it's almost going to be C+ due to the fact that it had the gauntlet of a schedule. Next up, we got Rapidash. We got 3 victories for Rapidash. Beat Larvitar, Tangela, and Dugtrio. Was defeated by Tyranitar, unfortunately, but it had 2 byes as well. So it's going to finish with 8 points. A rather good tournament for Rapidash. Like I said, anything above 7 is going to be really good. It's going to be a top 100 pace. Slowpoke. Not a good tournament. Started with 4 losses. Lost to everything that came across its path. And the only thing that saved it was a couple bye weeks at the end. I'd make the argument that only like maybe the Execute victory could have been won or tied maybe. But 2 points it is. Slowpoke's going to be in the E tier. Slowbro also had a little bad tournament here. Had a little bit better competition, but lost to Togetic, Bramble, Nidoking, and Jumpluff. And it took 2 bye weeks as well. It's going to be in the exact same boat as Slowbro. They had the same boat differential and everything, so I'll have to sort things out here later, but it's an E tier Pokemon, and that doesn't actually surprise me in the least. Next up, we've got Magnemite. Magnemite had a very, very good tournament. 3 wins and 3 ties. It defeated Jumpluff, Raichu, and Nidoran Female. Has a vote differential of 4, finishes with 9 points. Very, very good indeed. So Magnemite is an A-. Look at these. This A- is insane. These lower Pokemon. I kind of have an affinity for some of these single stage guys, or the lower stage guys, I should say. However, let's look at Magneton next. It was had a beautiful schedule. Everything went for it. Kadabra, Stantler, Sunflora, Tentacool, Machoke. These are not exactly tough matchups. And it took the bye week there in week 5. So it's, man, what a delightful schedule it had. It's going to finish with 11 points total, and that's going to be good for the A+ tier. Magneton is number 82, and it is a top 5 Pokemon right now out of 82, which is awesome. Next up, we have Farfetch. Farfetch has a little color in its plate. Started with 3 byes. Kind of a brutal way to start, but then it lost to Kingler and Moltres before finishing off with a win against Parasect. So Farfetch is going to finish with 5. Farfetch is a C+ Pokemon. A lot of that is probably going to be due to the byes slowing it down. It didn't really have a chance to kind of get out there and compete. But the bye weeks, what they can do is it can keep you, the bye weeks can basically keep you off of the E and F line, and, you know, the WTF line or whatever, so, but, yeah, that's just kind of how it rolls sometimes. Next up, Duduo. Week 1, bye week. Round 2 and 3 took losses to Shelder and Drowsy. Round 4, it also had a bye. It defeated Cleffa in round 5. Good for that. That's a nice win, and it lost to Feraligatr round 6. So, Doduo finishes with 4. That's going to be good for the C tier. Dugtrio will also have 4, but things are a little different here. Instead of 2 byes, it had a tie and a bye. It tied Crobat. And then it defeated Epom, but it took losses to Seadra, Weezing, and Steelix. Weezing and Steelix especially, those are tough matchups. Dugtrio also finishes with 4 and is a C tier Pokemon. Next up, we've got Seal. Seal finished with 3 points total. It won week 1 against Oddish, and then it just had a rough schedule in the middle there, or maybe not. I mean, Yanma and Slugma aren't particularly good, but I don't think Seal is. Seal's a very boring, plain Pokemon, I think, and I think that's what kind of led to its demise. It did take a bye week in round 6, so that's good, but Seal is going to finish with 3 total points. It's a D Pokemon. That sounds about right. Dugong, however, is a very good Pokemon, and Dugong had a wonderful tournament. Defeated Hitmonchan, Venusaur, defeated Blossom, also defeated Omanite, Lord Helix, and Vulpix. Had a bye week in there. Dugong is going to be in the A+ tier, so it is number 87. It is guaranteed top 6 right now, out of 87. And the bye weeks basically stop the S tier and the WTF tier from forming fully. There's only 2 each right now, because byes can really help out. Next up, we've got Grimer. Grimer has a win against Igglybuff, but then it was defeated by Entei, Vileplume, Sudowoodo, and it took 2 bye weeks, so Grimer's going to finish with 4 points in the C tier. All in all, not terrible. Not a bad little tournament. Muck did way worse. I feel bad here. It's not Muck Monday today. Pidgeotto defeated Muck, and then it just got railed against Hypno, Lantern, Tauros, Eevee, and Totodile. Bad tournament for Muck indeed. Muck is going to be in the E tier. Has some tough opponents, though, in Muck's defense. Tauros, Eevee, Lantern, Totodile. Those are all... Muck had a hard schedule. Very, very tough schedule. I don't think I'll go through and do like a schedule, strength of schedule or anything, but that would be kind of cool, though. That'd be a cool analytic, because I could just say, well, if Hypno finishes, you know, in the top tier, and then Lantern finishes in the 3rd to highest tier, you know. Anyways, that might be a little too complicated. Shellder had a interesting tournament, had 2 wins and 4 losses. Defeated Slowking, defeated Doduo, but then took losses to Porygon, Beedrill, Primeape, and Chansey. Good enough for 4 points, though, and it's going to put it ahead of quite a few Pokemon. Next up, we have Cloyster. Let's pull up Cloyster's schedule real fast. It had a pretty good showing. It defeated Meganium, Voltorb, Entei, and Slowking. The first win against Meganium is the most impressive for sure. Lost to Ivysaur, but it had a bye week in round 3, so that is able to put it at 9 points, and that is good for the A- tier. It won't have its own tier in this thing, but not bad at all. Ghastly's up next. Got a friend who's a big fan of Ghastly, but had a really tough schedule here. We had Xatu, Wartortle, Sandshrew, Shuckle. Those are hard matches, so Ghastly defeated Venomoth and Sandshrew, but it took losses to Shuckle and Xatu, and then it drew Wartortle and had a bye week. So that's going to give it a total of 6 points, and that's going to put Ghastly up at the B- with the whole crew up here. Haunter is next. Haunter had a wonderful tournament. Pretty soft matchups. Kakuna and Hoppip are no-brainers. Dunsparce is not any particularly special. Nidorino is a good matchup as well. I'd say the 2 wins that are impressive are Tauros and Dragonair, but regardless, Haunter goes 6-0, collects all 12 points, and it is, at the moment, a top 3 Pokemon out of 93. 93 Pokemon are finished. It is in the S tier, so, you know, big congratulations to Haunter. Gengar's next. Gengar had a loss to Donphan round 1, a very tough matchup, if you remember me talking about that one. Tied Gyarados in round 4, took a bye in the middle there, but it did win against Blossom, Wooper, and Pineco, so it's good for 8 points, and it's going to put it in the B+ tier, which will definitely be top 100, I think, by the end of the showcasing here. Onix is next. Onyx, I think, did the best it could with its opportunities. It faced Sunflora, Kangaskhan, Clefairy, Seadra, Hitmontop, and grabbed victories in all those, and then it had a bye week in round 6, so amazing effort from Onyx. Onyx is a Pokemon that I really didn't care much for in the past, but kind of recently grown a little attached to it with its competitive viability down there in the low tiers. So good job for Onyx. It's in the A+ tier with 11 points. Drowsy. Drowsy started with a loss to Pupitar, but it had good wins against Arbok, Doduo, and Larvitar. Also had a couple bye weeks there in the middle, so that's good for 8 points, and the B+ tier. So the B+ tier is starting to grow a little bit, and it's going to be interesting. It will probably be the next one to hit a second row, but as you can tell, it's going to be harder and harder to keep everything on the screen, but we'll just do what we can. Hypno's up next. Hypno had one of the best tournaments, period. It went 6-0. It defeated Muck, Rhydon, Tentacool, Espeon, Seal, Typhlosion, but the news gets better. It had extra votes in the Muck, Rhydon, and Tentacool fights, and so Hypno is going to be not only an S-tier Pokemon, but I believe it has the best vote differential so far at 9, so currently Hypno, who's number 97, is leading the tournament. Krabby's up next. Had 3 bye weeks. Beat Parasect, which doesn't feel too special, and then it lost to Ivysaur and Sandshrew, unfortunately, and so it's going to collect 5 points, which, you know, isn't too terrible for a lower evolution Pokemon, but it's going to end up in the C+ tier. Kingler had a wonderful tournament. Lost week 1 to Umbreon pretty bad, 0-2, but then it had a wonderful final 5 games. Execute, Jinx, Farfetch, Corsola, Kangaskhan. Those are all really quality wins, and it's going to be good for 10 points, and 10 points puts you in the A tier. Oops, let's do that right. Perfect. Next up is Voltorb. Voltorb did not have a good tournament. It had a bye week at least, but it faced off against, well, you can tell I don't like Voltorb because Mewtwo beat it. But these, I mean, Typhlosion, I don't dislike Typhlosion. Charmeleon's great, Cloyster's good, Articuno's my favorite. So, just a tough schedule probably overall. The only bad side is like losing to Mewtwo probably, but it's only going to have 1 point, end up in the F tier. But it did do better than Electrode. Electrode is complete. Had 6 losses, all by 1 vote. Hoothoot, Lugia, Arcanine, Sudowoodo, Nidoran Male, and Crobat. Electrode is here in the WTF tier. Probably going to be... yeah, I suspect it will be bottom 10 for sure. It just did not have the matchups go its way, and I don't really care about Electrode, to be honest with you. I guess it could have beaten Hoothoot maybe, but if you're a big Electrode fan, I do apologize. Just a rough tournament for it. Execute is up next. 2 wins against Sentret and Slowpoke, impressive. Took a loss to Kingler. Then had 3 bye weeks, so Execute is actually going to be in the possibly top 100 because it beat out that B- tier. If you can get above this B- tier, you are loving life because this B- tier is going to clog up so much. So, good win for Execute there. Next up is Executor. Executor did not do quite as well. Had a vote for it in Alakazam, or in the week 1, but basically someone voted for Executor and then someone voted Alakazam as well, so didn't quite go as well. It beat Azumarill and it had a bye week, but then it took losses to Primeape, Kingdra, Mareep, and Alakazam, so Executor only finishes with 3 points. So while Executor's up there in the B tier, Execute, Executor's going to be down here in the bottom 3rd perhaps. Cubone's up next. Cute little guy, had a good tournament, beat 3 Pokemon, Poliwag, Rhyhorn, and Kabuto. Good wins there. Lost to Espeon, unfortunately, but took 2 bye weeks. That's good for 8 points, and 8 points is a good way to go, and we now have well, I guess the C tier was had a second line, so we're now making lines everywhere, folks. Cubone, up there in the B+ tier, 8 points. Marowak, undefeated, 3 wins. Kabutops, Jinx, Golbat had a tie against the Quag, and then it had 2 bye week. Good for 9 points. Quagsire is an A- Pokemon. Wait a minute, Marowak's an A- Pokemon. Sorry, it faced Quagsire, excuse me. Hitmonlee is next. Had a horrible matchup round 1 against Ninetales. That one broke my heart a little bit, but it recovered nicely. 2 bye weeks and 3 victories in the middle. Pidgeot, Rattata, and Pikachu. So while Ninetales finishes up an A+, Hitmonlee is going to be in the B+ tier, but still, after that loss, a nice recovery to try to be in the top 100. Hitmonchan, not quite as well. Beat Goldeen and had a bye, but it got wrecked against everyone else. Dugong, Espeon, Kadabra, and Dratini. If I thought Hitmonchan was any good at all, which it's not, I probably would have given the victory over Dratini here, but it's absolute garbage in my opinion. But I want to kind of keep my opinion out of this if I can. It's going to have 3 points to be in the D tier. Lickitung is next. Lickitung had a interesting tournament. Actually had 4 bye weeks, so it is now the 3rd Pokemon along with Poliwrath and Victreebel. The 2 matches in which it did play were against Meganium and Magby. Those were losses, so Lickitung takes 4 points just off of bye weeks, and I think it will definitely appreciate it because it's going to be ahead of all these guys below it. Coughing's up nice. Coughing had a nice tournament. Coughing was undefeated, had bye weeks to start in round 1 and 2, but then took victories against Hoothoot, Gramble, and Victreebel before it tied against Meowth. That's good for 9 points though. So Coughing is going to be a A- Pokemon. Very good, very good. Weezing, however, is a superb Pokemon. It was blessed. It did not draw a bye, and it had a wonderful schedule. It beat Ponyta, Feraligatr, Dugtrio, Starmie, Gligar, and Murkrow. The Feraligatr matchup in particular was a 2-1, so basically 2 people voted in the comments and canceled each other out. And I voted for Weezing in my main video, so it finishes with 12 points. It has a 6 differential. I think it's going to be probably after Fearow, but I'll have to reorganize this at the end. But Weezing is at least a top 5 Pokemon out of 110 right now, so very good. Congratulations to Weezing. Rhyhorn's up next. Let's throw its schedule up. It took some, it had a hard schedule. Magmar and Umbreon are not easy assignments. It lost to Cubone as well, but it did beat Miltank and Tangela while taking a bye week in round 6. It's going to finish with 5 points, so Rhyhorn's going to end up in the C+ tier. Nothing to cry about there, Rhyhorn. Rhydon did a little better. Had Rattata, Wobbuffet, and Seaking as victories. Those are good matchups. It lost to Hypno and Venusaur, though, and it took a bye in round 6. So Rhydon finishes with 7, that magic number to get over the hump here to be top 100. Rhyhorn will definitely not be top 100. I just feel like if you look at this chart as it's building, if you end up 5 or less, you're going to be bottom 100 most likely, and 7 and up, you're going to be top 100. Because I have a feeling 50 will end up here in the middle. I could be wrong. There's 14 there right now out of 112. So probably not. Maybe like 30 end up there. Chansey is next. Chansey didn't have a great tournament. Lost to Sandslash, Pichu, Bayleaf, and Sudowoodo. Did have a bye week though, and it beat Shellder in the very last round. And Shellder ended up being a C Pokemon, so I guess that's pretty impressive. But Chansey is going to end up in the D tier with 3 points. We've got Tangela. Losses to Spearow, Rapidash, and Rhyhorn, but it did have some bye weeks, and it did have a nice win against Ditto. It's going to finish with 4 points. It's going to put it up in the C tier. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of thoughts on Tangela. Kangaskhan. Oh, Tangela's better than Kangaskhan, apparently. 3 losses, 3 byes. Unfortunately, drew dead with those bye weeks, and it had 3 tough matchups. Primeape, Onix, and Kingler. Those aren't easy matchups. I've used Kangaskhan in the past and I've had fun with it, but in this tournament, it is going to be a D tier Pokemon. So, we are building now. We're building lines, folks. Looks like S and A and WTF are going to be, probably won't make a full line. We'll have to see. Next up is Horsea. Bad tournament, but it was on its way to WTF. But it did manage to beat Bellsprout in the very last week to save it from being humiliated. So grabbed a nice victory there. Did lose to Bulbasaur, Porygon 2, Celebi. Those are hard matchups. Pikachu and Mankey. That was a hard schedule for Horsey. I'm going to go with... I'm sorry. It is a 2-pointer, so it's going to end up in the E tier there. Next up, because it's not my opinion, it's just how the facts fall. Seadra had a win against Dugtrio and a bye week, and then it just kind of fell apart. Wasn't looking too bad after round 2 with 3 points, but then it just went to... We got Kabutops, Onix, and Lapras, and Mr. Evious. Those are really tough assignments. It's going to finish with 3 points and end up in the D tier. Goldeen. Well, Goldeen did more impressive than I thought, and that's those 3 bye weeks helping out. Did lose to Vulpix, Hitmonchan, and Mew, though. Goldeen is going to finish with 3 points in the D tier, thanks to the 3 bye weeks that really help it out. Sea King's up next. It had a much worse tournament. Played some little bit tougher opponents too. Blastoise, Celebi, Abra, Rhydon, and Remoraid. All losses. And it took a bye week in round 6 to give it 1 point, so at least it avoids complete catastrophe, but still an F-tier Pokemon. That probably doesn't surprise many folks. Staryu's up next. Getting the Goldeen treatment here. 3 bye weeks, but admittedly, the three Pokemon that Staryu faced, Moltres, Fearow, and Ho-Oh, are probably going to finish all A+ tier or better. I'd have to go down and look at Ho-Oh real fast, but Fearow and Moltres, I think, will probably be close to 12. Staryu had no chance in this tournament, but it does get 3 points thanks to the bye weeks, so it ends up in the D tier. Starmie's up next. Ironically, Starmie also has 3 points. It had a victory, but it took 4 losses instead. Lost to Pinsir, Piloswine, Weezing, and Vulpix. But it did have a bye week, but it's going to be right there with Staryu. It's going to be right there, same vote differential and everything. Mr. Mime is up next. Mr. Mime has some nice wins. Looks like a not too bad of a schedule. Ladybug, Murkrow, and Cleffa. Did lose to Elekid round 1, and it has 2 bye weeks to its name, but it's good for 8 points. So Mr. Mime is really going to, first of all, it's breaking the monotony. I had put several Pokemon here in the D and E tier. So Mr. Mime is our first Pokemon since Rhydon, I think. So there was a stretch of 10 Pokemon there that were really eating it. Let's put up Scyther's schedule. Magcargo, Parasect, Fortress, Jolteon, Sunflora, Phanpy, a clean sweep. Scyther is an absolute beast, and it is going to be an S-tier Pokemon right up there with Blastoise and Fearow, with a +7 differential. Probably, I think Weezing might have been +7 as well, but we'll clean that up a little bit later. Jinx is next. Not that Jinx is terrible, but it did beat Kabuto, Pupitar. It took losses to Marowak, Kingler, and Teddy Ursa. And meanwhile, it had a bye in round 4. So Jinx is good for 5. Jinx is going to be a C+ Pokemon. Electabuzz, another incredible showing. Tyranitar, Miltank, Noctowl, Elekid, Suicune, Girafaring. In particular, taking down Tyranitar, Elekid, and Suicune is very impressive. Those are 3 very popular Pokemon in my opinion. It scores 12. It lands in the S tier as well, so congratulations to Electabuzz. And now we got 7 up there in the S tier, so it's building. Magmar's up next. Magmar unfortunately had run into Ninetales, which is a shame, but it did get a draw at least to avoid defeat, and it had a bye week in round 3. It defeated Rhyhorn, Paras. Nidoqueen's a great win, Meganium as well, and it gets 10 points and ends up in the A tier. So congratulations, Magmar. You are an A tier Pokemon. Next up, we got Pinsir. Pinsir, no ties, no draws. Or sorry, no draws, no buys. Straight up wins and losses here. 4 wins, Starmie, Togetic, Arbok, Croconaw, 2 defeats, Primeape, and Umbreon. Not a bad showing at all. Pinsir ends up in the B+ tier with 8 points. Congratulations to Pinsir. Good work. Tauros, not quite as good. Took 2 defeats to Dragonite and Haunter, and also had a bye week. Did take care of business against Golbat, Muck, and Dunsparce, so kind of beating up on them poison types and the low Dunsparce. But Tauros does get 7, which is a key number, because 7 will probably put you in the top 100. I say probably, no guarantee, but we will just have to see. Magikarp. This will probably shock no one. It had a bye week, and that's the only chance it's getting points from me. I hate Magikarp to my very core. But to be official, losses to Porygon 2, Sunflora, Nidoran Female, Shuckle, and Spearow. Ouch. F tier. That feels good. Gyarados, however, what an interesting Pokemon. Pandemonium was out there voting every week for it like a beast, and basically it ended up with 4 draws, which is insane. Basically, I voted against it the first 4 weeks. I think Pandemonium voted for it, and that saved its tournament. It took a bye in round 5 and then a straight up win in round 6. So Gyarados is going to be good to be top 100 because of Pandemonium's saving it. So if you're listening to me, buddy, you saved it. Congratulations to you. Gyarados is definitely going to end up top 100 solely based on your votes, and I appreciate you, man. Lapras is up next, and ironically, I don't like Gyarados, and I absolutely adore Lapras, but Lapras didn't do any better because it took a loss, first of all, and it had an extra bye week, and it only had 2 victories, so this was tough. It only has 7 points. It did defeat Tentacool and Seadra. It took a loss to Moltres. That's a hard loss to take, and it's tied against Steelix, so 7 points for Lapras, and it's going to be right up there with Gyarados. Same vote differential and everything, so Lapras is barely going to squeak into the top 100 probably. Ditto. Ditto looks great. Nidoran male, loss. Charmeleon, loss. Natu, loss. Mewtwo, loss. Skarmory, loss. Tangela, loss. Hey, dead last. Eevee's up next. Eevee had a little bit of color in its diet. It had 3 bye weeks, defeated Muck round 5, but lost to Persian and Celebi. Those are tough matchups for sure. Good for 5 points. Eevee is going to be a C+ Pokemon. Vaporeon and actually all the Eevee evolutions did not do that great. At least these first 3. It's going to be Espeon and Umbreon probably did better. Vaporeon took a bad loss here to Porygon 2. Not much can be done, and it had 3 byes, which is unfortunate. But it did beat Kabutops and Meryl. So Vaporeon is going to finish with +2 differential, and it's going to be in a B tier, so it is definitely going to be higher than Lapras, but could be higher than that even. Jolteon, very interesting. No bye weeks. It was in... Jolteon competed all 6 weeks, but still only ended up with 6 points. It had 2 draws, and Frozen Ursaring it tied against. It defeated Slowking and Pidgeotto, but it lost to Zapdos and Scyther. And Scyther, as we know, is in the S tier, so Jolteon just had a tough tournament. It's funny, there's a lot of color here that you can see, but at the end of the day, there's no real difference between Jolteon and, like, you know, a Pokemon like Diglett that was just 2 red, 2 green, 2 yellow. Flareon's up next. It had 3 victories in week 2 through 4. Mankey, Snorlax, and Swinub. Good victories there. Had a bye week, but it lost to Raikou and Donphan. But it's still good for 7, so it's going to finish above Jolteon. It's going to be on that same tier as Flareon. Or, excuse me, Vaporeon. Porygon's up next. Porygon is a favorite of mine. It did very well. It did have 2 bye weeks, unfortunately, but when it played, it took care of business against Shellder, Slowking, Aerodactyl, and Sandshrew. So congratulations to Porygon, getting 10 points and ending up in the A tier. Porygon is just a guy. I just love Porygon. Very cool, very frustrating Pokemon to use against regular competition such as Snorlax and Mew and stuff in Gen 1. Very fun, but even at Gen 2 and U, I really do enjoy Porygon. It's a lot of fun to play. Omanite, Lord Helix, didn't do so well. Had a win against Pidgey and a bye week, but then it took some bad losses. Dratini, Mew, Pupitar, and Dugong. Gonna finish with 3 points. Let's put it in the D tier there. Not bad. Actually, I don't know what I'm thinking. Terrible. Omastar did much better, had victories against Caterpie. Oh my gosh, it faced Caterpie, Weedle, Nidorino. Okay, that's not a hard schedule. Lost to Houndour and Elekid. And then there was a bye week there in the middle. But 7 points is 7 points. Omastar is cruising towards, you know, top 100 status. Kabuto's up next. It took 5 losses, unfortunately. So, nothing special here. Kabuto turns into something really great, but Kabuto itself is a Pokemon that is probably underwhelming for sure. But it lost to Jinx, Fortress, Charmander, Mantine, and Cubone. 1 point finishes with a -6, and our F tier is now getting expanded a little bit. Hey, we're at Pokemon 141, and there's only 4 Pokemon that have 0 points, so to any extent, that's a good thing. We only have 7 Pokemon that are like 12 points, so you know, that's 11 Pokemon out of 141, way less than 10%. Everyone kind of falls in the middle here. But anyways, let's jump into Kabutops next. Marowak, Vaporeon losses to start it off, looking bad, but it did win against Seadra, Weedle, Smoochum, and had a bye week, so Kabutops is good for 7. Gonna be right up there with Omastar. Sorry, Dome Fossil is superior. Oh, nope, it's not. Omastar had a better vote differential. I'll fix this in its entirety at the end of the video. Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl had a lot of color. Had 2 byes and a tie against Primeape. Then it defeated Swinub and Magby, but lost to Porygon. Aerodactyl had a very interesting schedule. Porygon is tough. Very tough match. So is Primeape, but finishes with 7. And sometimes all you gotta do is just get to that magic number to be top 100. Snorlax is up next. Snorlax is a Pokemon that I despise. I have made no secrets about that. But I felt that it would have been rude. Not rude, but to lose the Tyrogue would have been humiliating. And it beat Clefairy too, so. But Growlithe, Diglett, Flareon, and Mew. Yep, no problem voting against Snorlax with those 4. But Snorlax does finish with 4 points. It's going to be in the C tier. Next up, Articuno. My personal favorite Pokemon. The only thing that stopped it from the S tier was that it had a bye week, and hey, I did even wish it when I was going over these tournaments in the first couple weeks. I did say hopefully Articuno gets a bye, because I didn't want to be too biased, but it's going to easily finish with 11 points. Defeats over Raticate, Slowpoke, Bellsprout, Voltorb, Entei. I won't lie to you, that is an insanely easy schedule. Very easy, but you know, it did what it had to do, and it's going to be in the A+ tier. Next up is Zapdos. Zapdos also had a very easy schedule. I would think that, I mean, Zapdos' schedule is slightly harder because it had to face Jolteon and maybe like a Smeargle and Miltank. But it basically got 5 wins: Jolteon, Smeargle, Skiploom, Yanma, and Miltank, and took a loss to Zapdos. Or excuse me, it took a bye week in round 1. So Zapdos is going to be also right up there with Articuno. In fact, Articuno is 1 differential better, so it's an A+ Pokemon. Moltres, however, undefeated. Not undefeated. It won every game. Arbok, Fanfi, Staryu, Lapras, Farfetch'd, and Raikou. Great win against Lapras for sure. Great win against Raikou. Fanfi's you know, a cute guy. But yeah, so Moltres, 12 points. It's going to be in the S tier. Congratulations. Yep, the 3 legendary birds did well, but go figure, right? These are like 3 of my like 5 favorite Pokemon. Next up is Dratini. Dratini did very well, actually. Much better than I thought it would. Had good wins: Omanite, Hitmonchan, Poliwhirl, and Blossom. But then it tied in week 2, or sorry, had a bye week in round 2, and took a loss to Magby. 9 points though. Nothing to be sad about Dratini. Dratini is an A tier Pokemon. Next up is Dragonair. Did not do quite as well. Had a little bit of color. It had 2 byes, 2 wins, 2 losses. The wins against Caterpie and Igglybuff. I would think anyone can beat those 2, and then losses to Piloswine and Haunter. So Dragonair kind of is a very mid Pokemon. When anything decent faces off against it, it's not going to take the win. So 6 points, and it's going to finish in the B tier. Next up is Dragonite. Dragonite had a wonderful schedule. Beat Tauros, beat Shuckle, and it beat Gloom and Meryl, and it looks like it was cruising possibly to being 12 points, but may have been voted against with the Venusaur and Xatu matchups. So it's going to finish with 10 points total because of those 2 ties, but still nothing to be sad about. Venusaur finishes in what, B+, so Dragonite can hang its hat on the fact that it's A tier. Very nice. Next up is Mewtwo. Mewtwo is another Pokemon that I don't particularly care about like Snorlax, but it had a little bit better schedule. Defeated Voltorb and Ditto, took a tie against Ho-Oh, and then it lost to Sandshrew-Nidoking and Suicune. That's going to be good for 5 points. Mewtwo is going to be a C+ Pokemon. Alright, next up is Mew. Mew did very well. The only trouble it had was facing Celebi in Week 6, where it lost. But it defeated Shuckle, Nidorino, Omanite, Snorlax, and Goldeen for 5 victories and 10 points. Good showing for Mew. Mew's an A Pokemon? A Pokemon, right there with Dragonite. Perfect. Next up, we've got Chikorita. Chikorita actually did really well. I think Chikorita gets a lot of slack, but it 3 victories and 3 ties. That's good for 9. It defeated Paras, Pupitar, and Tyrogue. So it's going to be good for the A- tier. So congratulations to Chikorita there. I'm all about that. And then Bayleaf. Bayleaf had a interesting schedule. I mean, it tied Wartortle, lost to Dugtrio. But then it defeated Chansey, Sandshrew-Sandslash, and it had a bye week. Good for 8 points. Bayleaf's going to be in the B+ tier. Big, not too bad for the middle evolution there, Bayleaf. Next up, we have Meganium. Pull up Meganium's schedule real quick. So Meganium had a win over Lickitung, losses to Cloyster, Sudowoodo, and Magmar. Tough schedule for sure. Those are good quality Pokemon. I would say that's a good win for Cloyster. It did have 2 bye weeks though, so it's good enough to have 4 points and finish up in the C tier. Let's go ahead. Whoop, a little too much there. Cyndaquil's next. Cyndaquil had a couple victories. It defeated Zubat and Dunsparce week 1 and 2. Then it kind of derailed against Golem, Charizard, and Blastoise. Had a bye week round 6, but that'll be good for 5 points, and Cyndaquil is going to hit up the C+ tier above Meganium there. Kolava did a little better. Had the good old green, red, yellow split, 2 bye weeks, 1 point each. It beat Jumpluff and Unknown, but was defeated by Psyduck and Houndour. So Kolava is going to finish with 6 points and a -1 differential, so it's probably going to finish below a lot of these folks in B-. Most of these folks in B- have probably 0 vote differential, meaning that they have the same amount of votes for and against, and that makes sense. But let's go ahead and keep pushing on here. We got Typhlosion. Typhlosion has 2 wins, 2 losses, 2 bye weeks, and does exactly the same as Kolava, and it actually has the exact same vote differential. Lost to Persian and Hypno. Those are tough. Those are tough matchups. And then it beat Voltorb and Epom. So it's going to finish with 6, and it's going to be good for the B- tier. All right, we're getting full up here, folks. Totodile. I believe this is the son of Pandemonium. Pandemonium's son had a great tournament. Beat Natu, Pidgeotto, Jigglypuff, and Muck. It did lose to Ivysaur, and it had a tie against Persian, but it's good for 9 points. Totodile is going to be up there in the A- tier behind Chikorita. Very nice. Croconaw had a terrible tournament. Lost to Charmeleon, Houndoom, Blissey, Machoke, and Pinsir. And then had a bye week. But it's an F Pokemon. Probably the worst starter. Oh, by far. Next up, we got Feraligatr. Feraligatr had a really good tournament as well. Wins against Pidgeot, Smoochum, Hoppip, Houndour, and Doduo. Its only loss was to Weezing, a close 2-1 victory. Weezing is a S-tier Pokemon, and so that's a hard loss to take, but Feraligatr is going to finish in the A tier up here. And now our A tier has grown to the 2nd level, so the C+ tier, strangely enough, doesn't have a 2nd level yet, neither does the E tier. But here we go, Sentret. Sentret, nothing special here. Bye week and beat Clefairy week 2. So started off pretty strong, but then it kind of derailed. Lost to Execute, Charmander, Ninetales, Oddish. Kind of some sad losses there to Execute and Oddish. But, Sentret's kind of a plain guy, but he's going straight into the D tier, and it's probably not much of a surprise. Next up is Furret. Furret had 2 wins, 2 losses, 2 bye weeks. No weird vote differential either, so it's going to end up with 0. It lost to Caesar and Stantler, It defeated Diglett and Psyduck, and it, of course, had the bye week round 3 and round 4. And for it is going to be good for 6 points. It's going to be in the B- tier. Next up, we've got Hoot Hoot. 2 wins to start. It beat Electrode and Clefable, so it started really strong. But then it lost to Coughing and Sneasel. Those are just 2 very popular Pokemon to me. Had a bye week and then lost to Spearow, so it takes 5 points. It will end up in the C+ tier, the Bulbasaur tier up there. Noctowl did a little bit worse, just had 2 wins and 4 losses. It beat Blissey and Unknown, the 4 Pokemon that Noctowl lost to are maybe top 30. Blastoise, Electabuzz, Ursaring, and Charizard. That's a tough schedule. Yeah, you feel for Noctowl fans. That's insane. But Noctowl will still be up in the C tier with those 4 points. Ladybug had a bye week, beat Kakuna, and then it pretty much lost to any relevant competition. Entei, Mr. Mime, Larvitar, and Hitmontop. Ladybug's just going to be good for 3 points there in the D tier, but it did its best. It did better than Ledian. Let's pull up Ledian real quick. 5 losses and a draw, or a bye, I should say. Losses to Poliwhirl, Meowth, Ho-Oh, Charmeleon, and Donphan, which puts it at -5 differential and just 1 point. Ledian is an F Pokemon. I would say, looking at Ledian, Ho-Oh, Meowth, Charmeleon, and Donphan, very hard matchups. Its only chance was going to be against Poliwhirl, and just didn't fall for it. Spinarak had a little nice tournament here with 3 byes. It's going to finish in the D tier because it simply had bye weeks. It did lose the Golem, Caesar, and Togepi, however, so D tier for Spinarak. Next up is Ariados. Had 3 byes just like Spinarak, but it did also grab a win against Rimraid. Very impressive. While it did lose the Dugtrio and Chinchou, it's going to finish with 5 points, which isn't too bad for a bug Pokemon. And now our C tier has finally grown to the 2nd level. So our E tier and our top 2 and then WTF are the ones stuck. But E is about to grow soon, I would think. Next up, we got Crobat. Crobat defeated Tentacruel round 1. Very impressive coin flip there. It beat Electrode, and then it tied against Dugtrio, and it lost to Snubbull. And then it had 2 bye weeks, so Crobat's got a little bit of everything in its plate. But it's going to finish with 7 points and 1 differential, so not too bad. Crobat's going to be up there in the B tier. Not too bad of a tournament for Crobat. Chinchou and Lantern did very well. We'll do Chinchou first. 4 victories and 2 bye weeks. It defeated Jigglypuff, Dugtrio, Octillery, and Ariados. Dugtrio especially is a good win for it. But it's going to finish with 10 points and a +5 vote differential, which is going to be good enough for the A tier up here. And then Lantern, in similar fashion, had 4 wins and 2 byes. Didn't quite have as good of a vote differential. It's 1 worse than Chinchou, but it beat Slowpoke, Muck, Oddish, and Venomoth. It definitely had an easier schedule, I would say. But, still, you can only play who's in front of you. So Lantern also finishes with 10. It's going to be right there next to Chinchou. But Chinchou did finish with higher vote differential. Next up, we're going to go through some baby Pokemon. So Pichu is up first. Pichu is a unique one. It did win against Chansey and Weepingbell, so big congrats there. But it lost to Ampharos and Lugia, which are powerhouses, and then it also lost to Kadabra to round out and finish with 5 points. So good work, Pichu. C+ tier for Pichu. Cleffa, not so good. Just a bye week and 5 losses. It was defeated by Raichu, Teddiursa, Mantine, Doduo, and Mr. Mime. Nothing really to say here. Cleffa's going right to the F tier. But Igglybuff is even worse. Grimer, Spearow, Dragonair, Vulpix, Smoochum, Larvitar, not a chance in heck. It's going to the WTF tier with a -6. Maybe the worst Pokemon we'll have to see. Togepi, interestingly enough, did pretty good. 4 bye weeks is helpful, and then it beat Spinarak, and it lost to Butterfree, so you can't blame Togepi's right up here in the middle of the pack. We'll have to see how it shakes out. I may have to go through that B- tier and arrange things in terms of how I would rank them but it will go to vote differential first, I promise. Next up is Togetic. Let's throw up Togetic's schedule. 3 good wins, Slowbro, Tyrogue, and Rattata. It did lose to Pinsir, however, and had 2 buys. Really not too bad of a showing for Togetic, a Pokemon I don't really care much about. Pretty good. It's going to be in the B+ tier. Natu. Natu's very just boring, just like these results are. Did beat Ditto and Clefable. Lost to Totodile and Celebi, and had 2 bye weeks. 0 vote differential. Just about as chalk as it gets. Natu is probably going to finish directly in the middle of this whole thing. 6 points, B- tier. Xatu, things didn't go as well as I was hoping for my favorite Psychic Bird. It did defeat Ghastly, which is a huge win in this tournament. It beat Wigglytuff and Golduck. It tied Dragonite, and unfortunately it had 2 bye weeks, which kind of took away its ability to try to win other matches. So it had a +4 vote differential, and it finishes with 9 points. It's going to be up there in the B+, I believe. Excuse me, A- tier, which isn't too bad. Mareep did a little better than Xatu because it only had 1 bye week. It did tie Abra, but it had 4 great wins. Metapod, Gloom, Weepingbell, and Executor. The Executor win especially is a good one, and so is the Gloom win, I think. That's not too bad. Mareep's going to finish in the A with 10 points. Very good for Mareep. In fact, Mareep is +4, so I think it's going to be right there around Lantern. Flaffy. 4 wins, good wins. Abra, Girafarig, Diglett, and Pidgey. Lost to Primeape, unfortunately, and then it had a bye week round 1, so it's going to finish with 9. So it didn't quite do as well as Mareep, but it still finishes in the A- tier. And then Ampharos did the worst. Ampharos, though, if you look at its schedule, it drew way worse. It did take care of business against Pichu and Geodude, but it lost to Wartortle, and it tied Jolteon, and so that was just a rough go of things. So Ampharos only had 7 points. However, it's still likely going to finish top 100, so the whole evolution line will probably finish top 100, which probably is not a common thing. I don't think many full evolution lines, because like Crocodile got smashed, Nidorino got smashed, and I'm talking about like Pokemon in the 3. Charmander, I guess. The Charmander line has a chance. We'll have to see. Okay, Blossom's next. Unfortunately, Blossom did not have a great tournament. Lost to Gengar, Dugong, Celebi, and Dratini. I'm not going to lie to you, those are hard matchups, especially Gengar, Dugong, and Celebi. That's a tough road. 2 bye weeks, though, and it finishes with a -5 vote differential, and it will be 2 points, which is going to put it in the E tier, and it's finally going to have E spill over. So now we officially, just the top 2 tiers and the bottom tier, we don't have enough spillover yet. We'll have to see. Meryl, not a great tournament for it. 1 win against Wobbuffet, which I'm down. But unfortunately it was defeated by Pineco, Ursaring, Growlithe, Vaporeon, and Dragonite. That's tough sledding. Those are really tough matchups. It was not able to draw Caterpie or stuff like that, but it gets 2 points. It's going to finish in the E tier. Thankfully got to play Wobbuffet at least. Azumarill did not do as well because it just had a bye week and then also 5 losses. It was defeated by Executor, Pikachu, Pineco, Murkrow, and Gligar. And unfortunately, it's going to finish in the F tier. Not as good as Meryl. Next up, we got Sudowoodo. Very good tournament. It did lose to Charizard one-on-one in round 2, and that's a tough loss for it, but otherwise it took care of business. It defeated Machoke, Grimer, Chansey, Electrode, and Meganium. Meganium was a great win for Sudowoodo, but 10 points for Sudowoodo, so congrats to the tree going into the A tier. Very good. Politoed, another one of my favorites. Looks like it lost to Machamp, and it defeated Vulpix, Yanma, Hitmontop, and Golem for 4 victories, and it grabbed a bye week point, so it's going to have 9 points. So Politoed's going to finish with 9. Love to see it. A- tier. Hoppip, not a great tournament, unfortunately. 5 losses and a bye week. It's going to go -6 for vote differential, and it's not much to say here. Lost to Quagsire, Haunter, Geodude, Feraligatr, Magcargo. And the Magcargo game might be the only one it may regret, but F tier for Hoppip. I don't know what I'm saying. I mean, Magcargo is clearly better. Skiploom, however, didn't do too bad. Had a win over Venonat. Had a couple bye weeks, but then lost to Gloom, Magby, and Zapdos. Skiploom's going to finish with 4, and it's going to be up in the C tier. Very good showing for Skiploom. Jumpluff, it has, 2 wins and 4 losses. Defeated Nidorino and Slowbro. And it lost to Sandshrew, Magnemite, Sandslash, and Kolava. Those are Sandshrew and Sandslash. That's a tough family to face. But Jumpluff's going to end up with 4 points, and we're going to throw Jumpluff up in the C tier. Okay. And I think, yeah, it's the same differential as Skiploom. Next up, we got Epom. Epom had a win against Wobbuffet round 1, had a bye round 2, so it was looking good, but then it met reality when it had to face Vulpix and Kadabra back-to-back. Then it lost to Typhlosion and Dugtrio as well. 3 points only for Epom. It's going to end up here in the D tier. D tier is about to have 3 layers to it. I was wrong. I thought, well, no, B- is close to a 3rd tier as well. We'll have to see what happens. Sunkern. Sunkern had 3 ties and 3 losses. I think this is why the D tier is blowing up, because we have Pokemon like Sunkern. Lost to Oddish, Ursaring, and Arbok, and then had 3 byes. So that's good for D tier. Mainly just the luck of the draw got it there. Sunflora had a win against Magikarp, but then a bye week, and it lost to Onix, Magneton, Delibird, and Scyther. 4 losses there, unfortunately, so it's going to finish with 3 points. And that's also going to be a D tier Pokemon. So D tier has now reached the 3rd level of Pokemons. Yanma didn't do too terrible. Defeated Seal, Nidoran Male, and Arbok. Lost to Zapdos, unfortunately, and Politoed. And then it took a bye week, so hey, not bad. 7 points. Yanma has a chance to go top 100. Yanma fans are going to love it. Wooper. 4 losses, unfortunately. Dunsparce, Espeon, Graveler, and Gengar. It took 2 ties. Wooper's just really nothing special, unfortunately, but it still manages to at least beat the F tier and the WTF tier, so it'll probably finish certainly bottom 30, but maybe it can escape the bottom 20. Quagsire did a little better for sure. Let's pull up its schedule. Had Hoppip and Swinub and Charmander as victories. Lost to Ho-Oh. That's a hard matchup for it. And it tied Marowak, so, and a bye week. So really, Quagsire had a good tournament overall. 8 points. It's going to be top 100. Up in the B+ tier. Oh, Espeon. Great tournament for Espeon. Only lost to Hypno in round 4. Took care of business. Had a great vote differential. It defeated Beedrill, Wooper, Cubone, Stantler, Hitmonchan. It's going to finish with 10 points. It's going to be an A Pokemon. Very good for Espeon. Umbreon also had a very good tournament. Kingler and Rhyhorn, it defeated round 1 and 2. A couple bye weeks in the middle. Then it defeated Kadabra and Pinsir. Had a very good vote differential as well at +6. It's going to also be A tier. So, all right, next up we have Murkrow. Murkrow's a favorite of mine. Didn't have a great tournament. It did well against Smeargle, Butterfree, and Azumarill, but it did lose to Delibird, Mr. Mime, and Weezing, and that's just stellar competition right there. So Murkrow's going to finish with 6. So it's going to be in the bloodbath here of the B- tier with 6 points. Slowking had a terrible tournament. Throw the schedule up here. Admittedly, it did have good competition. Shelter was the only game there that was probably winnable for it. Had a -9 vote differential. There's a good chance Slowking is dead last in this tournament. We'll have to see. But Jolteon, Porygon, Mischievous, Golem, Cloyster, all excellent opponents. And then also lost to Shelter 1-0. So Slowking is going to be down here in WTF, and there's a great chance it's last. -9 is pretty rough. Mischievous is next. Had a great tournament. It beat Unknown, Nidoran Female, Slowking, Oddish, and Seadra. It's kind of funny. Mischievous, I believe, was the only Pokemon who battled its neighbors, both of its neighbors, Unknown and Slowking. Great tournament, though. Had a bye week. 11 points. Strong A+ tournament for Mischievous. Next up, we got Unknown, the very opposite of Mischievous. Took 6 L's. It wasn't voted against, at least, but basically by other folks besides me, but Mischievous, Nidoran Male, Diglett, Noctowl, Quilava, Starmie. It was, I don't think it had much chance from the start, but it also ends up in WTF. It'll be above Slowking, though. Wobbuffet, its only saving grace is that it had a bye week. It lost to Epom, Pikachu, Rhydon, Marill, and Alakazam for 1 point. Wobbuffet is going to be in the F tier, but the bye week helped save it. Girafarig is next. It has a 2-2-2 again, the 2 green, 2 red, 2 yellow. It defeated Blissey and Zubat. Should come up with a term for that. It lost to Flaffy and Electabuzz, but it had 2 bye weeks, so it's going to finish up there in the B- tier. Maybe it's starting to break out. Yep, I think it's going to be another row there. So we have 3 rows in B- and the D tier. All right, let's keep pushing on. We got Pineco. Pineco did very well. 5 wins. Beat Marill, Larvitar, Seal, Azumarill, and Butterfree. Took over the Marill family. Lost to Gengar in round 6. That was the main keeping it from 12 points, but it's going to finish with 10. That's not bad for a little Pinecone. Don't sneeze on Pineco. Fortress also had 10 points. Its only loss was to Scyther, who had 12 points, so nothing to sneeze at there. It beat Poliwrath, Nidoran Female, Smeargle, Kabuto, and Venonat. So it finishes with 10 points. Very impressive. It's going to finish up there with Pineco, I think, and Fortress had a little bit better vote differential, so it's going to be ahead of Pineco. Dunsparce, kind of average, a little worse than average, had a couple bye weeks, and it did beat Wooper, but it lost to Cyndaquil, Haunter, and Tauros for 4 points. So Dunsparce is going to end up here in the C tier. Looks like the C tier is about to go to another level, too. Gligar finished with 7, had 2 wins over Teddy Ursa and Azumarill. Lost to Weezing. Weezing had 12 points, so that's a tough matchup. It did tie Caesar and took 2 byes. 2 bye weeks to get 7 points, so Gligar is going to finish up in the B tier. Not too bad. It's going to be top 100, probably. Steelix, 10 points. Wonderful showing. Tied Lapras in round 6. Took a bye week, and it had 4 wins. It beat Caterpie. That's not really special, but Fanpy, Venomoth, and Dugtrio, those are pretty good wins. 10 points for Steelix, A tier. Excellent. This thing's getting full, folks. Next up is Snubbull. 3 losses, 2 wins. It took a loss to Ivysaur, Delibird, and Machoke. That's tough competition. Crobat and Ekans, it got the win against, and it had a bye week. It's good for 5 points and the C+ tier. Gramble, looks like it's going to finish similar. Had more bye weeks to help it out, and it beat Slowbro, and it took 2 losses to Coughing and Porygon 2. Those are good Pokemon. It's going to also finish with 5. The 2 for the win and the 3 byes. So it's going to be right up there with Snubbull. Quillfish is next. Quillfish also finishes with 5. It has the 2 victories over Golem and Mantine. And then it was defeated by Sneasel, Sandslash, and Alakazam. Then it had a bye week. So we're going to put it in, it's going to be in the C+ tier. And these 3 in a row all had -1 too. So they're going to be, so that's a 3-way tie right there. Caesar. Caesar was an interesting one. Had a couple ties against Gligar and Shuckle. Beat Furret, Spinarak, and Golbat. Lost to Delibird. Not a terrible showing. 8 points. I think Caesar has trouble. While its design is pretty cool, I think that its usability and competitive is really tough. But it finishes with 8, so let's go ahead and put it up there in the B+ tier. Shuckle is next. Let's pull up Shuckle's schedule real fast. Shuckle, a few losses there. Mew, Dragonite, and Blastoise are all excellent competition, so it's hard to be disappointed. But a good win over Ghastly, and Magikarp is, well, Magikarp. It went ahead and drew Caesar too, so it gives it 5 points total. So Shuckle's going to move up into the C+ tier. Heracross is up next. Heracross is interesting. Had 3 byes to start, unfortunately. Then it had a tie with Nidoqueen to end the campaign. It did beat Persian, and it lost to Suicune. Heracross had pretty much a very kind of a neutral, low. This was soccer. Very few goals for Heracross, but it has 0 differential, and so that's going to put it. Well, it's got 6 points, so 6 points puts it up in B-. We'll have to work it out here soon, where exactly it finishes. Sneasel. Sneasel had a good campaign here. We had 3 wins, Quillfish, Spearow, and Hoothoot. 2 bye weeks and a tie to Vileplume 1-1 in round 6. That's not too bad at all. 9 points is excellent. 9 points is going to be A- for Sneasel. So let's throw him one up there. I suppose it doesn't matter. Teddiursa, 6 points, has 2 green, 2 wins, 2 losses, 2 bye weeks. It beat Cleffa and Jinx, lost to Gligar and Blastoise, however. But that's good enough for 6 points, which will put it in the B- tier, where all heck is going to break loose eventually. Ursaring had a great campaign, 4 wins. It defeated Meryl, Sunkern, Raichu, and Noctowl. It did draw Jolteon, and it had a bye week round 1, but it will finish with 10 points, which is excellent. And Ursaring is going to be up in the A tier. Let's go ahead. It looks like A tier might be forming a 3rd line. Very close to it. So that's good. So many Pokemon up in the A tier. Next up is Slugma. Slugma, I do not think is going to be A tier. Couple bye weeks. It beat Seal, but it did lose to Victreebel, Elekid, and Charmeleon, giving it 4 total points, and going to doom it to the C tier. Come on, Slugma, C tier. Magcargo is next. Definitely Magcargo had an impressive tournament, relatively. Did lose to Scyther, one of the champs of the tournament, but beat Weedle, Hoppip, and Pidgeot. Weak competition, but win's a win. And 2 bye weeks gives it 8 points, so Magcargo is going to finish a little bit higher up, possibly, in the standings here. Swinub is up next. Took 3 losses there in the middle, Aerodactyl, Quagsire, and Flareon, but it did defeat Pikachu and Blissey, and it had a bye week, so that's good for 5 points, and the C+ tier for Swinub. Piloswine had an amazing campaign, really good schedule, favorable. Pidgey and Machop are light work. Gloom really isn't much challenge either. Starmie and Dragonair are impressive wins along with Miltank. Piloswine goes 6 wins for 6, 12 points. It's going to end up in the S tier, and it's going to be the... Oh no, where'd I lose it? There he is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So he's the 9th Pokemon out of 221, I believe, to get up to the S tier. Hey, will we have a chance to expand this to 2 rows? That'd be pretty sweet. Corsola is up next. Corsola had 4 losses. Rough day, or rough tournament. Parasect, Ponyta, Kingler, and Arcanine. Ekans, it did defeat Ekans in round 3 and got a bye, so Corsola will end up with 3 points. So let's give it its due. It's going to be in the D tier. Next up, we've got Remoraid. Remoraid is in a similar spot as Corsola. Got a win and a bye. Its defeat was on Sea King, but then it lost to Clefable, Raticate, Ariados, and Wartortle. These aren't... Well, Wartortle's a great Pokemon, but the other 3 aren't really impressive. So it just kind of shows, I think, regular Pokemon would have defeated those. So... but nonetheless, Remoraid ends up with 3 and is going to be in that D tier as well. Octillery's up next. 2 wins, 4 losses. No nonsense here. No ties, no draws. Lugia and Chinchou were definitely good competition, along with Venomoth. Also lost to Raichu. It did beat Machop and Smoochum, however, so it finishes with 4 points. Octillery's going to be up here in the C tier. So we got a 3rd line now for the C tier. Incredible. Oh, Delibird. Delibird had... I believe Delibird may be the best in the entire tournament. And here's why. As we look at Delibird's schedule, it finishes with 6 wins, but not only that, but you see all those 2-0 victories. Basically, outside help definitely got in to help Delibird. And so Delibird has a +10 differential, which is just insane. Defeated Vileplume, Snubbull, Murkrow, Sunflora, Caesar, and Ivysaur. And Delibird, I believe, is going to be the winner of this tournament, which is just so great. I love that. Delibird is a guy. I mean, it's Christmas time. It's Christmas that I finally get this video out, but I think Hypno had a +9. Delibird has a +10. So what an incredible tournament for Delibird. Up next is Mantine. Mantine had 3 wins, beat Weedle, Cleffa, and Kabuto. That's really nothing special. Those 3 are weak as heck, but it did defeat. It lost to Quillfish and Gyarados, which are tougher opponents, and it had a bye week in round 2. That's going to be good for 7 points for Mantine, and Mantine is going to finish in the B tier. Let's go ahead and jump them up in the B tier. Next up is Skarmory. Skarmory has another perfect sheet here. Only a +7 differential though, so it's not going to be quite as good as Delibird, but it defeated Meowth, Bellsprout, Kingdra, Raticate, Ditto, and Pikachu. So Skarmory is going to land up in the S tier as well. Alright, perfection. Next up is Houndour. Houndour, 4 wins. It defeated Omastar, Tentacruel, Zubat, and Quilava. It did fall to Kingdra and Feraligatr, however, but that's good for 8 points. Not a bad campaign for the dog, and that's going to be in B+. So where Houndour will find his final spot. Houndoom had a little bit better tournament. He had 1 fewer loss, and Houndoom instead drew against Charizard, and then lost to Suicune in round 1, but then had a strong showing after that, defeating Crocodile, Bulbasaur-Dugtrio, and Nidorina. And so, let's see here. That's going to put Houndoom at 9 points. And let me see here. That's going to put us in the A- tier. So let's go ahead and jump up. Perfection. A- is getting kind of crowded. Next up is Kingdra. Kingdra had 4 victories. Defeated Houndour, Executor, Tentacruel, Graveler. Lost to Skarmory. And had a bye week in round 1. That's good for 9 points as well, so it's going to follow Houndoom right on up. And it did do a little bit better than Houndoom technically, with a +4 instead of a +3. Fanfi's next. Fanfi had a tough competition. Moltres and Scyther were excellent. They're S tier Pokemon. Steelix is pretty high up too. It did beat Metapod and had 2 bye weeks, but all in all, not too impressive. It ends up in the C tier. Kind of a little below expectations, I would think. If you look at this D and E tier, it's not too surprising, honestly, but Fanfi's a little bit low, I think. Donphan's next. Donphan had a great tournament, beat Gengar and Bulbasaur. Those are great wins. I think Flareon's a good win, too. Ledian is, Ledian, but 4 wins, 2 ties, puts it at 10 points. Donphan is going to finish in the A tier. We got a third. We have a third line in the A tier. How incredible is that? Porygon 2's up next. A great campaign. Vaporeon and Sandslash are quality wins. Gramble's a good win as well. Horsea and Magikarp not so much, but wins are wins. It's going to finish with 11 points because it had a bye week, unfortunately. But Porygon 2 will take it. Oh, I messed up here. Sorry. Where did Porygon 2 go? Let's go up here to 11. We're almost got a full slate of A+. S may roll over. It depends as we get to the bottom here. Stantler. Stantler had a couple byes, a couple losses, couple wins. We haven't had this in a while. 6 points. 2 wins against Ferd and Kakuna. 2 losses to Magneton and Espeon. And a couple bye weeks. Stantler's going to finish here in the middle, B- tier. Okay, next up we got Smeargle. Smeargle had a couple wins and a few 4 losses. Nothing really to see here. Beat Metapod and Hoot Hoot. Not that impressive. But admittedly it has some tough competition. Murkrow, Magby, Zapdos, Fortress. Those are tough. Those are tough matchups to deal with. Smeargle's going to finish with 4, and that's going to put it in the C tier. Next up we've got Tyrogue. Tyrogue is not having a good time. It lost to Snorlax. Ninetales is amazing competition, so is Chikorita. Nidoran female Togetic, just all around not good. I think anything beats Tyrogue other than maybe Wobbuffet. 1 point for it, F tier. Next up is Hitmontop. Had a little bit better tournament. Golduck and Ladybug are wins, but it does lose to Raikou, Politoed, and Onix. And has a bye week round 3. That's going to give it 5 total points. 5 points lands us up in the C+ tier. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Next up, we've got Smoochome. Smoochome, nothing really special here. 2 and 4, 2 wins, 4 losses. If you look at the losses, those are hard competition, especially the King, Feraligatr, and Kabutops. It did beat Igglybuff and Raichu, though, so those are good wins. And then that puts it 4 points, and 4 points is good for the C tier. Next up is Elekid. Elekid had a small problem in that it has some good competition. That's what stopped it from getting to 12. Elekid, by the way, I think Elekid is my son. I'm going to go with Elekid being my son. We have to have sons when we're playing Pokemon. And Elekid is mine. Mr. Mime and Nidorino wins. Beat Slugma and Omastar as well, but ran into Electabuzz, which is me, the daddy. And then Machamp is just a tough loss. Finishes with 8 points, though. Elekid is still going to be a high flyer here at the end of the day. Looking like it's going to be top 100, even top 70, I would say. Magby is next. Magby did the best of the babies. 5 wins to start. Abra, Smeargle, Skiploom, Lickitung, and Dratini. Great wins. Lost to Aerodactyl on the last day. Could have had 12 points. But Aerodactyl came in and had to be a pain. Magby goes into the A tier with 10 points. Next up, we got Miltank. Miltank, not a good campaign. Admittedly, good competition, though. Zapdos, Nidoking, Piloswine, Electabuzz. Those are hard matchups. Maybe Miltank could have beaten Rhyhorn, possibly, but I don't think Miltank was going to be... Miltank was not blessed from the start here. It only finishes with 1 point, unfortunately. Let's put it in the F tier. Alrighty, we are here at the home stretch. We have 10 Pokemon left. Let's go ahead and review Blissey real fast. Blissey had 5 total points. Took 3 losses to Noctowl, Girafarig, and Swinub, but it did defeat Crocodile and Ekans. Good wins for Blissey. It did take had a bye week in round 5, so that's good for 5 points, which is going to put it up here in the C+ tier. Let's go ahead and get her up there. Next up is Raikou. Raikou had a great tournament. 4 wins and a bye. Nidorino, Hitmontop, and Graveler and Flareon were its victories. It did lose to Moltres, so unfortunately could not go undefeated. Moltres prevented that, but Raikou still gets 9 points. A very, very good tournament. Let's find our 9. Here we go. Next up, we got Entei. Entei scores 5 points. 2 wins. Ladybug and Grimer. Got a tie against Gyarados. Unfortunately, it lost to Machamp, Cloyster, and Articuno. That's good competition, by the way. Machamp, Cloyster, and Articuno, those are great Pokemon. But those are all losses, and that's going to lead it with 5 points. So let's go ahead and throw Entei up in the 5 section, which would be C. Next up is Suicune. Suicune did not impress as much as I would have hoped. It got 3 wins, beat Houndoom, Heracross, and Mewtwo, which are good wins, but it did lose to Electabuzz, and it had 2 bye weeks, so it was just tough. It had a tough schedule. Suicune is a great Pokemon, but it went up against, really good competition. Suicune finishes with 8, so let's go ahead and drop him up there. Should be up in here somewhere, next to Elekid. Next up, we got Larvitar. Larvitar had 3 losses. It lost to Rapidash, Pineco, and Drowsy. It did beat Ladybug and Igglybuff, however, and it had a bye week in round 3. That is good for 5 points, which, isn't terrible. It's going to be here in the C tier. We're about to jump on that 5. Let's see here. Next up is Pupitar. Pupitar had 3 victories. It defeated Drowsy, Jigglypuff, and Omanite. It did lose to Chikorita and Jinx, however, and it had a bye week there in round 5. So that Pupitar finishes with 7 points total. Let's go ahead and jump it into the 7 column. Up here with Butterfree and stuff. Yes, sir. Tyranitar, good schedule. Lost to Electabuzz week 1, but then really picked it up. Had a victory against Vileplume, Kadabra, Rapidash, and Nidoking. And then it had a bye week round 4 as well. So it finishes with 9. That is not too bad. Let's go ahead and throw it up there with Ivysaur and Crowd. Down to our final 3 here. I'll organize these off camera. Lugia, 4 wins, 2 losses. Started off hot. Started off 4-0. Octillery, Electrode, Poliwhirl, and Pichu, good wins, but then it finished poorly, losing to Meowth and Venusaur, giving it 8 total points.
Still not a bad showing. It's going to be top 100, I imagine. Up there next to Suicune. Ho-Oh. I was sad for Ho-Oh a little bit because it started with 2 bye weeks, and then it had a tie against Mewtwo, but still, it has 9 points. It beat Letty and Quagsire and Staryu. That's just kind of how it goes sometimes when you have the bye weeks. So Ho-Oh finishes with 9. Let's throw Ho-Oh up there. Looks like, yep. And then finally we have Celebi. Celebi is our final Pokemon, and it also is going to finish with 12 points. So I'm trying to count real quick. We have 11. Celebi is our 12th Pokemon to get 12 points. That's perfect. 12 Pokemon got 12 points. Defeated Eevee, Seaking, Horsea, Natu, Blossom, and Mew. That Mew victory is very quality. The Blossom and Eevee ones are pretty good too. Let's throw Celebi up there, and then what I'm going to do is what I'm going to do next. I'm going to get off camera here. I'm going to organize these by vote differential, and then I might just screenshot each and every one and just kind of do a final review of 1 to 251, and so you can kind of stay, you can stay for that if you like, but I hope you guys have enjoyed so far, but I'll go ahead and include a little bit more there, and we'll see you soon.
Okay, so here is the final rankings, and they're in the right position. I'm not going to go over like exact vote differentials, but basically we're going from left to right as we go down these tiers. I had to get rid of the S, A, B, etc. because, you know, I can't, the text is kind of weird inside there. But basically, top 12 is, let me highlight it here, Delibird through Weezing. So check your Pokemon there. Hypno 2nd, Moltres 3rd, Blastoise 4th, Fearow 5th, Electabuzz 6th, Celebi 7th, Scyther 8th, Haunter 9th, Skarmory 10th, Piloswine 11th, and Weezing 12th. So big congrats to those 12 Pokemon. They earned 12 points. They had 6 victories. And very impressive showing all around. And couldn't be happier for folks up here. If one of your favorite Pokemon is here, then congrats. 13 Primeape, 14 Dugong, 15 Articuno, 16 Porygon 2, 17 Zapdos, 18 Charmeleon, 19 Magneton, 20 Onix, and 21 Misdreavus. So basically this tier, the 13 through 21 tier, they had 5 victories and a draw and a bye week basically, or 5 victories and a draw, because they got 11 points. And so, you know, very well done, but they just probably couldn't control the bye week part inside of it. You know, it was all a scheduling problem. So next tier is 10 points. A couple different ways you can get 10. You can go 5 wins and a loss, or you can do 4 wins and 2 draws, or 4 wins and a bye and a draw, or 4 wins and 2 byes. So some of these Pokemon are undefeated. Some of them aren't though. But basically this is 22 through 45. Feraligators at 22, Umbreon 23, Espeon 24, Machamp 25, Dragonite 26, Ninetales 27, Porygon 28, Chinchou 29, Ursaring at 30, Sandslash at 31, Sudowoodo's at 32, Alakazam finishes 33rd, Charizard 34th, Mew at 35, Fortress at 36, Arcanine at 37, Magmar at 38, Donphan 39, Pineco at 40, Mareep at 41, Steelix at 42, Magby at 43, Lantern is 44th, and Kingler finishes 45th. I do apologize, I'm getting some sniffles, so I'm really struggling here to try to finish this off. The next tier down is 9 points. Any amount of things can happen here. You can go, you know, you can get 4 wins and a draw and then a loss, or, you know, you could have 3 wins and 3 draws, like Chikorita's case. So it doesn't really matter how you come across the points. It goes points first, and then it goes vote differential next, and then it goes my preference if that I'm like the final tiebreaker. But At 46, we got Xatu, 47, Tyranitar, 48, Sneasel, 49, Kingdra, 50, Raikou. Ivysaur finishes 51st, Cloyster is 52, Mankey 53, Meowth 54, Magnemite 55. And it's just amazing in that how many how many first forms are in this tier here. Ho-Oh is at 56, Houndoom 57, Nidoking is 58th, Politoed 59, Marowak at 60, Coughing is 61, Chikorita 62, Dratini 63, Flaffy 64, Spearow 65, Nidoran male is at 66, but perhaps the best Pokemon right here, number 67, is Totodile. Trying to keep it real. That is Pandemonium's son right there. 6'7". Perfect. Next tier down, 8 points. As we go down in tiers, there's more and more possibilities, but you could go 4 wins, 2 losses. You could do maybe 3 wins and 2 draws and a loss. But anyway, 68 we have Beedrill, 69 is Nidoqueen, 70 Suicune, 71 Elekid, 72, I'm sad there by the way, Elekid's my son, finishing 71st. 72 is Gengar, 73 Persian, 74 Pinsir, 75 Bayleaf, 76 Hitmonlee, 77 Wartortle, 78 Rapidash, which I think might be his Pokedex number. Pretty incredible. 79 is Cubone, 80 Mr. Mime, finishing 81st is Quagsire, 82 is Houndour, 83 is Lugia, 84 Vulpix, 85 Squirtle, 86 is Drowsy, 87 Magcargo, Venusaur finishes at 88th, Caesar at 89, Geodude at 90, and Togetic at 91. That's a pretty high standing for Geodude, by the way. Really proud of Geodude. So now we're going to get down to the 7-pointers. At this point, it's just kind of pick your own path. I will say this about these next 3 sections here. This here was the 6-point section, and I assumed there'd be like 50, and I was wrong on that. And I assumed that everyone that finished above it would be in the top 100. I was wrong on that, and I thought everyone below it would be in the bottom 100. I was wrong on that. So I'll be very careful as I get to number 100. So Vaporeon finishes 92nd, Ampharos 93rd, Flareon 94, Golem is 95, Lapras 96, Aerodactyl finishes 97th, Gligar at 98, Rhydon at 99, and coming in at 100 is Gyarados. So that's another Pandemonium Pokemon right there. So congratulations, sir. Gyarados finishes in 100th place. 101st, Pupitar, Crobat at 102, Yanma at 103, Omastar at 104, Poliwag finishes 105th, Butterfree at 106, Execute at 107, Kabutops at 108, Taurus finishes in at 109, Growlithe at 110, Mantine at 111. This next middle section here, everyone finished with 6 points. I thought it would be the biggest section, but I was wrong. I think there was a couple others that had a little bit more Pokemon to them. But basically, the most common way this went was either 3 wins, 3 losses, or maybe 2 wins, 2 losses, 2 draws. That was very common. So anyways, Ghastly finishes at 112, so shout out to you, Mephisto. Heracross is 113th, Dragonite 114, Dragonair 14, excuse me. Jolteon finishes 115, Machoke at 116, Teddiursa 117, Charmander 118. Furret finishes 119th, Diglett 120, Stantler 121, Abra 122, Natu 123, Girafarig at 124. Psyduck and Poliwrath are going to finish in the very middle of this tournament. So actually that kind of makes sense. They're in the middle of this middle tier. Psyduck at 125, Poliwrath at 126. Raichu, so from here on out we're on the bottom half now. Raichu finishes 127th, Victreebel at 128, Pikachu at 129, Togepi 130, Murkrow 131, Nidoran female at 132, Typhlosion 133, Quilava 134, Wigglytuff 135, Sandshrews at 136, and Kadabra at 137. Next tier down, this is 5 points. More or less kind of disappointing to have 5 points, but you know, you definitely avoid the mostly avoid the bottom 100 status. But let's roll. Bulbasaur is at 138, Shuckle at 139, Quillfish is 140, Ponyta 141, Eevee's at 142, Farfetch'd at 143, Krabby at 144, Jinx is at 145, Snubbull 146, Rhyhorn at 147, Cyndaquil at 148, Gramble 149, Entei at 150. And Mewtwo is the final Pokemon at 151, close to its Pokedex number, but Mewtwo is the final Pokemon to avoid the bottom 100. So Pichu is the best of the bottom 100 at 152. Blissey at 153, Larvitar 154, Vileplume 155, Hitmontop finishes at 156, Swinub 157, Hoothoot 158, Ariados at 159. Moving down 4 points. Not as we get further down and down, it's getting like into a lot of the forgotten guys. But anyways, we got Dugtrio finishing 160th, Meganium at 161, Fanfy at 162, Noctowl 163. That might be Noctowl's Pokedex number. Pretty cool. Golduck at 164, Octillery 165. I believe this is Jumpluff 166, Dunsparce at 167. Snorlax finishes 168th. I'm totally fine with that. Smoochum at 169, Dugtrio 170, Oddish 171, Bellsprout 172, Lickitung 173. Grimer finishes at 174, Skiploom at 175, Slugma is 176, Venomoth at 177, Poliwhirl at 178, Graveler 179, Parasect finishes 180th, 180th, Smeargle at 181, Dudu at 182, Shelter at 183, Tangela at 184, Nidorina at 185. Next up, we got Seadra, 186. This is 3 points, so we're really getting into the nitty-gritty now. Seadra finishes at 186, Kangaskhan at 187, Gloomit comes in at 188, Remoraid 189, Stormy is 190, Clefable 191, Epom 192, Corsola 193, Lord Helix Omanites at 194, Seal is at 195, Hitmonchan finishes at 196, Paris 197th, Weepingbell 198th, Staryu is at 199, Venonat rounds out the top 200, and now we're getting to the bottom 5th. Sentret finishes 201st, Ladybug 202, Spinarak 203, Sunkern 204, Executor finishes at 205, Chansey 206, Raticate 207, Sunflora is at 208, Goldeen 209, Pidgeot finishes at 210th. Pidgeotto finishes at 211, and by the way, we're in now the tier that has just 2 points. Basically, to get 2 points, you either got 1 win, you got 2 draws. That's pretty much the only real way to get to that path. Pidgeot's at 211th, Golbat finishes at 212, Pidgey at 213, Slowbro is at 214, Slowpoke 215, Zubat finishes at 216th. So shout out to Kakuna and Metapod, 217 and 218. They're not in the bottom 30. Blossom at 219, Muck is finishing at 220, Arbok at 221, Meryl finishes 222nd, Wooper at 223, and Horsea at 224. Now finally, this 225 to 244 tier is 1 point. Basically, that's simple. It's 5 losses and a draw, or a bye. Most of these Pokemon basically had a bye and 5 draws, so the bye basically just helped them to not finish dead last. Miltank's gonna rank it at 225, Azumarill at 226, Ledian at 227, Voltorb is at 228, Tentacool is at 229, Clefairy 230, Rattata 231, Tyrogue 232, Cleffa's at 233, Weedle 234, Nidorino's at 235. That's really a disappointing finish because all the other Nidos did pretty well-ish. Crocodile at 236, by far the worst starter. Kabuto 237, Tentacool 238, Jigglypuff at 239th, Hoppip 240, Wobbuffet 241st. Surprised it finished that high, honestly. Machop 242, Seaking at 243, Magikarp at 244. Final tier, only 7 Pokemon. Basically, they lost all 6 times. It's kind of hard to lose 6 times because your chances of getting a bye week, you figure, is 1 in 5 in any given round, and so to skip the bye week 6 times is kind of astronomical. But anyways, we got Ekans at 245, Electrode finishes at 246, Unknown 247, Igglybuff at 248, Caterpie at 249, Ditto finishes 250th, and coming in at dead last because it had the worst vote differential is Slowking at 251. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this project thoroughly. Took me a little while to get this video together. I do apologize about that. I really nerded out. I had a good time. I hope you all enjoyed. I'm definitely going to definitely give a shout out to the folks who kind of participated, and I hope you guys get in here and check in where your Pokemon finish. So anyways, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care, guys.